Hello, everybody, and welcome in to Fulcrum, a Star Wars podcast. Today, we continue our coverage of The Acolyte. Today is season one, episode six, titled Teach, Corrupt. It was written by Leslie Headland and Jocelyn Bio and directed by Hanel M. Culpepper. I'm Colton Robertson. I'm joined by Joseph George. What's up, homie?
Oh, what up, what up? Always a pleasure to be here.
Oh, and it's always a pleasure to have you. And this show just keeps getting fucking better, man.
Hmm.
It's hard to understate how much it leveled up within the last couple weeks, because I was already digging it. I was having a good time. It
Hmm.
was fresh, it was fun, it was intense, but man, we're getting some fucking
The juice.
wars, baby.
Yeah, we're
Yeah,
getting
yeah.
the juice of it now. I don't know. The mystery has there's so many mysteries now. I don't know. It used to just kind of be who is the master, who is
Mhm.
the guy behind the mask and what is the big OSHA, what happened that night. I guess that's
Mhm.
been a mystery since the very start. But now I don't know, so many questions about Chimere, so many questions about Vernestra now, I feel like.
Mhm.
And where we are, a lot of questions there. A lot of crazy theorizing that happened this episode. I don't think I've
Yeah,
ever
yeah.
I've gone down the deep end a couple times last night, definitely
Yeah,
whenever I was.
we went back and forth for about an
Hmm.
hour after the episode
Yeah.
after we finished watching it, and uh it's funny because I'd turned on the episode to take my notes, take my scene by scene notes, and I
Hmm.
paused it at like right after the recap, and we went back and forth for like 45 minutes before I pressed play
Hmm.
because I was just like I was locked in. I didn't want to
Yeah.
I want to watch, but I also want so it was just a fun little evening of Star Wars
Hmm.
focus for me. But yeah, it was another wonderful episode. Probably my second favorite of the show so far,
Hmm.
behind last week.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's just
last
it's
last week was nice. I was trying to remember if how I liked one and two. I don't know. I feel like I need to go back and rewatch them. I feel like, um,
I think one and two will be very rich rewatching them with context of where the story's
yeah.
going. I have not revisited them yet. But that was the thing is that it was new, it was exciting. It was a good
Mm,
start to a good show,
mm-hmm.
but it's just it's done what TV's supposed to do, and it's gotten
Mm.
better as we get closer to the end of the season. You know what I'm saying? Like typically that's what your TV show should do. It shouldn't, in theory, it's as good as it can get from the jump and you go all the way at that level. It's not possible. So the build up we've had, I
Mm-hmm.
appreciate, and I think we're in for a good last couple weeks here.
Mm-hmm.
Especially since next week will almost certainly be the the
Flashback
what's up? Yeah, the
or the
flashback episode. What was the first one called?
um.
Destiny?
That's a good question. Let's see. I don't have the usually on the sheet. I do have the title names, but I
Oh yeah.
don't.
Pretty sure episode three was
I'll look
Destiny
here.
because we're going
Mm-hmm.
with like the we're going with the idea of what's its companion piece, and that's next week. It's episode seven, directed by Kogonada, as the third episode was as well. Fate, I think, is kind of where my idea is at.
Yes.
Destiny, Fate.
Destiny. It's your maybe it's like this is what you're always supposed to do, but now you're finally making your own choice. What would be I don't know, like freedom or
Freedom. Yeah.
um uh
I mean, like,
I don't know. I'm trying to think of
I feel like Destiny has a positive connotation. What if the other side's a negative connotation? Like this is teach, corrupt, day,
mhm.
night,
Okay.
destiny, doom, you know? Like could there be something there? Like
Yeah. Fate could be positive or negative. Like meeting
mhm.
your I don't know, kind of meeting your fate, I don't that yeah, that's
Either
it
way,
to think of the
I'm
mirror.
excited to
Yeah.
find what the mirror is of that next. I'm assuming it will be. I guess I don't know that, but I'm fairly certain at this point, given where we leave this episode. But
Mhm.
I'll go ahead and take us on a scene by scene here. Some of it's a little out of order. If there's any one gripe I've had with the show as a whole, I think its editing is a little questionable at times.
Yeah.
Um,
Mhm. It's my own, I
I
don't know.
didn't I didn't strictly order it in a way that I thought the scene should unfold or anything. but it felt unnatural for me to cut off talking about it there.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the way that I went about it. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but sometimes it was unavoidable. Sometimes there's just too big of a gap. I
Mm.
can't avoid it. So, uh, but yeah, that's been the one thing where I'm like, we cut away, we do like this
Like,
30-second scene, and then we're back to that where we were
yeah.
before, and I'm like,
Just stick with it for a little bit
let's let this
longer.
ride a little
Yeah.
bit, you
But
know?
mm-hmm.
But yeah, this one that stuck out just a little bit. But anyway, we open the show on a supposed unknown planet.
Mm-hmm.
And we see OSHA awakening in what appears to be the stranger's quarters, mirroring the very first shot we meet OSHA in the first episode, where she wakes up in her bunk on that ship and the camera tilts up with her.
Mm.
We do the exact same thing here, which was very, very cool. I liked that opening. Kind of a reset, kind of a restart. Like we're back to square one with her almost is kind of what
Mm.
visually that was giving me. But she exits and finds herself on a small island in a vast sea, and she walks to the shore and spots a ship on a nearby island. She turns around and spots Chimera walking in the distance, and she follows him to a calm body of water where he disrobes and steps in.
Mm.
We see scars on his back, as does she. And this is my favorite scene of the episode.
Hmm.
This is one of those examples where we have already by this point cut away and come back, by the way. Um,
Hmm.
and I've, you know,
Yeah.
and they did the title drop, like they do the whole like uh cliffhanger within the episode where it's like, oh, she's on this big island, now we're somewhere. It made sense. It's not one of those examples that's like, why did they do that? But
Mm-hmm.
like it's just interesting that like I'm 3 sentences into my rundown and we've already cut away and done a different scene. It's just notable. But
Yeah. Hmm.
anyway, she turns around and spots Chimera walking in the distance, and he steps into the water completely nude. I thought we were gonna get our first Star Wars, but we did not get our first Star Wars, but
Kind of.
I should have expected that.
Through the water, there was a shot of a I don't know.
We get a little butt.
You kind of see it. Well, I think front, the front of his body. It's kind of you see his leg. You see him kind of frog kicking. You see his legs
Hmm.
moving, but the midsection's very unclear. The what you're looking through a lot of
Yeah,
water,
yeah.
but
A lot of water there. A lot of
yeah.
water.
So
Um,
almost
but yeah, no, this was still, however, Star Wars is so like it's ne there's never been a character completely nude on screen,
no,
right? Like, no. Did
no.
There was a scene in Andor where like Cassian showered. Was he completely nude for that?
Maybe yeah. Maybe he was like getting sprayed down really harshly,
Hmm.
or what?
Well, no,
Did
like
they do that?
he's like relaxing in his little hideaway before he gets
Oh
arrested.
yeah.
You
Okay,
know?
in
Like
the on
I
the
think he's
beach
butt
planet.
ass. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Niamos, I think is what it's
And he was
called.
with that
He's
girl, kind of
Yeah,
climbing
yeah,
out of
yeah.
bed. Maybe he was a
Yeah.
little, yeah, I guess so, maybe there. But this is at
But yeah,
least
that's
like,
like we watch him undress
boom.
and step. Yeah, no. So like it was just kind of, I mean, refreshing in a way. It was just kind of like, oh wow, we're telling a story that feels like it's being treated by an adult.
Mhm.
And I appreciate that. Not that I've ever been like Star Wars shouldn't be for kids. No,
We
Star Wars
need
should be
more
for kids.
skin. Yeah,
Yeah,
but
yeah, exactly.
um,
It's not something I've ever needed, but seeing it was nice. I liked that for more reasons than one. But he senses her approaching from behind them, and as she slowly approaches and picks up his lightsaber, he asks, "Feels good, doesn't it, to hold one in your hand again?" A
ho-
lot of dialogue.
homie just
Lot,
knew. Oh,
mm,
there's
a lot of dialogue that
yeah.
is double entendre heavy.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Oh yeah.
and some not even double entendre heavy. Some just explicitly like, I want you, you want, like,
Yep.
you know, um,
Yep. There. This is. I can't wait to see what it unfolds into. But at least I know, um, that. Well, no, actually, I was about to say something. I was wrong. I gave him the performance, not the character. I gave a different character a little bit of light just because I think they're getting interesting. But
mm,
he's remaining the part of the show that I am like, I
the
need
most,
more of, and
yeah.
I need every bit of explanation behind
I
him.
gave him the
But
character.
yeah,
I
okay.
did. I did the flip. I gave
Hmm.
Chimera the character this week just because for that exact reason. He is the most exciting and
Ooh.
most mystifying part of the show. I love how firm a grasp he has on his situation. Like
Yeah.
there's a sense to him that is so deeply in control that is almost too good to be true. Like it almost feels like he's pretending, but he also feels so in control that it's like, I don't know, he's probably not, but I love that he's making
Hmm.
me feel uneasy, and I think that that's,
Yeah.
credit to Manny Jacinto, but I think it's a big credit to Leslie Headland and the writers of this crew. Like the way they are writing Chimere is since last episode, just like,
So
and to
good.
think that was only last week, like I've been spending so much time thinking about this. I also had like roughly the longest week of my life last week, by the
Yeah.
way. But like it was just
Mm-hmm.
it was kind of crazy when I turned on the episode last night and I was like, fuck's sake, it's been 1 week since the last time. But yeah, no, I've just spent so much time thinking about the show and dwelling on it and thinking about this character, and he's just so interesting. And I think that this episode, well, last episode he got the aura going.
Mm.
This time we got the specifics,
Mm-hmm.
like what makes him tick and what makes him interesting. And I liked that a lot. But yeah, he senses her the whole time. There's not a single moment he doesn't know she's there. Um, and he steps slowly to the edge of the water and he speaks to Osha about her stance, giving her advice on how to improve it. And she tells him to stay where he is, and he teases that if she isn't going to join him, he would like to put his clothes on.
Mm-hmm.
And that was another one of those like, okay, okay. Um,
Yeah,
and
that
we'll
would.
we'll we'll talk about we'll talk more about the relationship dynamics the more they come to
Mm.
all nearly blows, nearly something else, hard to tell.
This one was pretty clear, though. I mean, it was
Yeah,
you can
he's
either join me and become my pupil, or join me in this pool or
mhm,
water
yeah.
right now. Yeah. So I mean, they're. He's. I guess at first he was acting like the drunken fool, and whenever you brought up that like maybe he isn't in full control, but at least he's acting like he is. He could very well be, and maybe he is just that powerful. And because right when she touches his saber, he's like, "Hey, I knows that she's there." I mean, obviously, the dude brought her to this island. He put her in the bed. Like this is where he stays. I guess I don't know. Maybe it's
Mhm.
one of his camps. Maybe this is. Seems that he stays here
No,
quite
I mean,
often,
I
though.
think this is where
Um.
May came to meet him at the end of the
Ah.
first episode. Like I'm pretty sure.
Okay. Yeah.
So like May knows where this is because she didn't come here with Chimere. She came here to meet him.
Mm-hmm.
Which
Okay.
is important. That will be of note going forward whenever they decide to try and find him.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Okay. So I guess maybe this isn't Chimere's true home then. If he's wanting to be truly incognito, if
yeah.
I don't know, it could be, and only May knows. And
Well, I have theories about. I mean, the scary theory that I don't love because I love Vernestra is that she was his master.
mm-hmm.
And obviously something bad happened. Regardless of who his master was, something bad happened.
Mm-hmm.
It just so happens that at this present moment, I believe there's little to no way it wasn't Vernestra. Um,
Yeah. Those scars
the
are a little
way,
too whippy,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know?
I mean, that's what they emulate anyway. The other thing that they emulate a little bit is Force Lightning, which I think is interesting. He wants to,
Hmm.
wants to kill his master. That's Sith shit. Like it's
Okay. I didn't think about
like
that. Yeah.
yeah, like that's the other thing I could distinctly see it. So like he could be talking about his Sith master. He never confirms that his Jedi master did it.
Mm-hmm.
She just goes, "Your Jedi master," and he just kind of looks down and then knocks on his Cortosis helmet and is like, "Cortosis, check this
I
shit out,"
see. Wanting.
So
Hmm.
there
Mm-hmm.
is more to it. I think he's manipulating her more than anything.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I severely doubt that whatever caused that on his back was the event where his Jedi Master, I'm assuming Vernestra, cast him aside. I think it's a result of his Jedi Master casting him aside, and
Mm-hmm.
therein, like, I'm sorry to be jumping the gun like this. My expectation is that Chimere was having dark, sinister, evil feelings.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Vernestra sensed those. Um, she and knowing stuff from the books, gave him every opportunity, like tried her best. But she's come in contact with the dark side before. She's seen it. She knows what it does. And I think she would know when somebody's too far gone.
Hmm. Okay.
And but that's the other thing too, is that like, is anybody ever too far gone? And is that the dilemma? Is that why he feels neglected? Is that why he feels abandoned? Is that why he feels cast aside? Um Now, I think there's been something that she's returned to that almost feels like she's recalling something, where she says something to tip the scales.
Mm-hmm.
My suspicion is that's something Kymir used to say.
Yeah, it's obviously going to be brought up. I don't know. It feels like it is a callback to something, and
Hmm.
sadly, this doesn't paint Vernestra in the best light. But if it is that route of like giving him every single chance, and maybe it's like a Luke and Kylo thing where Luke felt super. Oh yeah, oh
That's
that
why Kylo's theme plays whenever Kymir's on screen. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that's exactly what's going on.
yeah.
I think he's seen a extremely similar
Mm,
trajectory to Kylo. You know what I'm saying? And I think that that might be the connection we're looking at. And not to mention that there are plenty of Reylo parallels here between Osha and Chimera. Like, that's
mm-hmm.
they are doing a lot visually and era wise to parallel the prequels, but the legitimate mechanics of the story feel much more akin to The Last Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
Specifically The Last Jedi, by the way.
Yeah.
Um, I wouldn't
Yeah.
even say the sequels. I would say specifically The Last Jedi, um, which for me is just
Hmm.
exactly what I want. But
Yeah.
it's been enticing, and I'm excited to dig more into it as
Mm-hmm.
we get a little further into the
It's
episode. But I
true.
figured I'd go ahead and toss that out now.
It's how juicy it
Um,
is, though. That yeah,
it
is
is,
is a very juicy episode. So.
but he emerges from the water fully nude, and he senses her thoughts. Um, Probably not every single one of those, am I right?
Mm.
But he says she's wondering if it's honorable to kill him like this, and I was like, what, buck ass? But no, here now, removed from battle, in the heat of the moment, it's a fight. Hours removed, it's vengeance. Is that right? And he comments on how she wonders how he can read her mind. And he says he can't. Your anger betrays your thoughts. That's my favorite line of the episode.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
Because it just reminds me of Return of the Jedi. Whenever Vader is trying to search for Luke. Um, and sister, you have a sister,
Mm.
your thoughts betray you, my son, or whatever. Like,
Mm.
it just that rang in my head there. But as he puts on his clothes, she questions why he brought her here. Why not kill her? She inquires for the health of Soul and then May, and he confirms that he did not kill him. But it's interesting that he asked about Soul first, or she asked about Soul first. He says it's a special relationship, master and pupil.
Mm-hmm.
I also love that he refuses to say Padawan.
Yep. Hates
Um,
pupil. That's it.
yep.
That's it. He loves his pupil. I think that's the angle that at least I feel like is a lot more important. Is that whether it's a literal transfer of power, I don't know if it's that, but at least like if you are a master and you have a Padawan, say Vernestra and Chimere were that, and Chimere does go down this path, Vernestra has to at least have some sort of guilt and feel like she failed. Like, I'm the master, it's my responsibility to make sure this doesn't happen. Maybe it was truly Chimere just going down, but Vernestra would at least feel some guilt, just like Luke feels the guilt even though he thought Kylo was fully gone. He thought he was doing
Hmm.
the right thing. Even at that moment there's still guilt to be had. And it could just be that, but like it feels I don't know. He says a line to Osha saying that like that's not Soul's power. That's your power,
It's your power.
Osha.
Yeah.
And someone should teach you that. And it feels that that's a there's some link between a master and a pupil or whatever. A
An
Padawan. It
apprentice.
just
Yeah.
yeah. At any point, it's like almost like a bloodline thing, but a force line. And at least Sith, it feels that like if you kill your master, they want you. to like kill them. It's almost like the Sith's goal is to like, I'm either strong enough to keep you down and be my apprentice, or you kill me and take over, and you seemingly absorb my power, and they become more powerful. It's like
Hmm.
they all continue through the next person
Well,
almost.
and I think there's also, and I would love if it is a literal like force life thing, like there, or life force, I should say. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
why I said it backwards. Like that is transferred into an apprentice. But there's also the idea that it could be more a metaphorical sense, like Sith, they are not selfless enough to want to further their cause. Like that's why I think it probably is a more literal thing. Um, you know what I'm saying? Like, because one of the thoughts I had was if apprentices continue to kill their masters and the masters had previously killed their apprentices, it logically just means that the Sith are growing more and more powerful.
Mm-hmm.
They've been climbing the ladder. It's
Yes,
like that
survival of the
hypothetical
fittest.
where
Just
you ask your barber
mm.
who his barber
Uh-huh.
is, and then you climb the ladder until you get to the best barber in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the Sith operate under the same principle, like
The barber
you
principle.
the
Wow.
barber
Yeah.
principle, like they kill their master. Therein, they are the most powerful Sith that has ever existed because that Sith killed their master and that master killed their
I
master and
see.
so on and so forth. So
Mm-hmm.
like that's the other thing that's unclear is but it, I like to think of it in a more
Mm,
mystical sense. I do like to think about it as
yeah.
more of there is a transfer of essence almost. At
Hmm.
least that's what Rise of Skywalker makes it seem like the most. Return of the Jedi does an interesting thing that I think is much more like what I was talking about. And it's more like kind of what Chimera is going for here, the corruption of the Jedi. Like
Mm-hmm.
if you strike me like what Obi-Wan says in episode 4, strike me down and I will become more powerful than you can imagine. Like you kill
Mm-hmm.
me here, I've destroyed you, and now you are worse off than you've ever been.
Hmm.
And so there's all sorts of ways you can take it. The Rise of Skywalker, I think, makes it more literal.
Yeah.
Like kill me and I become you, you know.
Yeah. And then Ray hearing every Jedi's voice
Every
being like,
Jedi,
"We're
yeah.
with you," kind of
Hmm.
it could be metaphorical and it could just be that they're not literally with her, but just there in spirit, and it's not a literal
Hmm.
power thing. But at least the connection that I see with Chimere is I feel like it's if he can have a pupil that can kill a Jedi without a weapon, then that means for certain that he could. If you can teach it to
Hmm.
someone else, then you are I don't know you
You're
can do it as
there.
well. And I feel that he doesn't fear anybody, but whoever gave him that scar, I feel like he would. That's the person he fear. There's only one person he fears, and I wonder if this is just like kind of a like his next way of being like, I am not even going to try to come back and challenge my master until I have taught an apprentice to kill a Jedi
Hmm.
without a weapon, so that now, maybe it's just a side mission completely for Chimere to
Well, I
boost his
think
own strength.
we speculated pretty early on that whatever before we knew for sure it was Chimera, that the stranger was training an apprentice to help him kill his master.
Mm,
It's the final lesson. What happens when you graduate? What happens when you
mm,
get your final lesson and you've done it? Like you probably go and kill whoever is training or has trained Chimera.
mm-hmm,
And that's so I think that with his whole thing being, freedom, and he wants to be able to practice his power how he sees fit. The thing about the rule of two is that it's always been alienating. It's always been, I'm the master, you're the apprentice. We
mm-hmm.
are two very singular entities. What he says at the end of this episode with the power of two, I think he wants to flip that on its head. Like he wants the rule of two to be more about the power of two than it is the warring Sith
Ah,
master and apprentice. I think he truly does seek an apprentice who can be his partner, not
ah.
so much his.
That's why the romance is there. Maybe that's why it makes a
Mm,
little bit more sense that it isn't he doesn't want a competitive relationship. He wants a mutual
He wants a
dark
mutual
side
yeah,
relationship. Ooh.
and obviously the dark side is corruptive, so that's not possible. That's the other thing that's
Ah,
like there that's his hubris is that he thinks he can control that. He thinks he can do that, but if you swayed someone to the dark side,
yeah,
there's like he says when she's like you can't I can't trust you. He's like you shouldn't, but you
that's
should learn to
true.
trust yourself, like
Yeah.
there's always going to be warring factions, but I do
Hmm.
think at least in the interim he's seeking the power of two to kill his master. um I think is the goal.
Ah, okay. Recognizing he can't do it on his own. He needs
Yeah, he
the
needs a second.
I
He
guess,
needs help.
there was that demonstration in episode 3 of the thread and like how
Hmm.
one is, whatever, but when two people came together, they could stand up against Mother Anastasia and, for a little bit, I guess. So maybe there is that that'll come back around and it's just a literal two is greater than one. I don't know, just a I don't in
Hmm.
any area, I guess it's gonna make them stronger, but
Well,
um
and
hmm.
to see them connect back to episode 3 with that, power of one, the power of two, the power of many, like
Mhm.
do we see the power of many unfold? Like, is there any chance that we do get a culmination on whatever island this is, where maybe we get a paralleling moment to the end of episode 4, whenever the sun goes down and May
Mhm.
goes, he's here. Like what if Chimere has a
She's
he's
here.
here moment? Yeah, or she's here. One way or the other, whoever
Oh, I
his Sith
see.
master is.
Yeah. Ooh.
Um, because like I I I don't know. We don't have much time left, and with next week being another flashback episode, I'm interested in how this story culminates in essentially one episode. We
Hmm.
do, and that's me banking that the next episode is entirely flashback again, even though I'd been thinking about it, and I don't think it needs to be. Um, like Soul's perspective of those events is not much different. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Like we see a lot of the stuff with Soul. There's only a few details that we don't see. Um,
Yeah. Th- I guess I wouldn't want it to be the whole episode anyways. I think it's coming. We're going to get some explanation at the very least, which will just probably fade into flashback and that's how we'll see it. But at least Soul is talking to May and giving him
mhm.
his spiel and we'll probably just get what happened that night through his blah. I thought we were gonna get Chimere telling Osha what happened. I was, but I feel like his game is very slow. He wants her to fall on her own and not have
Mhm.
any say in him doing it. But I felt like we were gonna kind of get stories from different perspectives, and then the true kind of story like
Right.
we got with Luke and Kylo. But I don't know. Maybe it is just we see what happens and boom we
Well,
continue.
that's what's also exciting is building upon the idea that Vernestra was his Jedi Master. If we want to make that hit,
Mm-hmm.
is there any chance that the flashback episode is not just May and Osha, but it's also Chimere within the Order and whatever happened to descend
Oh.
him?
So
Um,
I guess we know those four Jedi went on this mission. Soul and all the other all the others are dead.
Sol and Dara, Kelnaka, and Torben. Yeah.
But I wonder I wonder if like maybe it doesn't seem that Vernestra would have gone on that mission as well, but maybe that like there's a just a mission going on at the same time. Like it's we are
Mhm.
suspicious of a dark force. There's a bunch of witches here. We have one strong person here. Vernestra and Chimere are going to go to check out this and then the other four are going to go
That
check
could be
out
really cool.
check
That
out
could be
there.
really cool. Yeah.
And then we get I don't know, it all kind of culminates together. It all happened around the same day. But
Well, and
Chimere,
that's the thing too, is that like we're not too far off. Let's
yeah, I
let's go
guess
ahead and
true.
keep going forward. But we'll come back to this. This is why like I don't love that there's breaks in the storyline, is because like we don't come back to that for a good paragraph. But back on Soul Ship. He prepares for liftoff and tries to calm Coruscant. His connection is shaky, and he attempts to tell them that the mission failed and he lost his entire team. May traverses the ship and recalls her test there when she was a youngling. while Basil lurks around the corner. And when she reaches the cockpit, Soul regards her as Osha. Says, Osha, take the wheel. I'm going to go check out the transceiver.
Hmm.
And she ascends out of the atmosphere as Soul gathers himself in the hole, hitting the console, tears welling in his eyes. I went Lee Jung-jae for my performance.
Hmm.
The repression of the emotions, and there's specifically something he does later in the episode that is utterly fucking fantastic that I love. But he is so goddamn good. To speak to the Chimere character side of things, he's consistently the most interesting character. Lee Jung-jae is consistently the most fulfilling performer for me in this show. I think that what he's been able to do has been unbelievable week to week.
Yeah. Yeah, in fact, that the dude just learned English, like
For
very
this role,
recently. That's
yeah.
that's insane, and he's doing it at this level. And I like, we did say some editing choices, but the fact to just stay on him, that's
Oh
good.
yeah,
That
thank
that I
goodness.
guess I don't
Yeah.
know, maybe that's direction, maybe that I don't know, that's just writing,
No, I mean
there,
there's also
but
an editing thing to that to a degree. And I guess pacing falls under the category of editing. Like that. I guess my issue would be more with pacing, not letting the
hmm,
scene continue in full, you know?
mm-hmm,
Like when we return to Osha and Chimere's story, I don't feel like it feels like the other half of the same scene. It doesn't feel like
yeah,
you know, but regardless, no, this was really well done though. And the way that Soul's ship looks this episode, the way it's lit at times is fucking brilliant. I
mm-hmm,
absolutely adored it. But
yeah, that
yeah,
mu
Basil lurks around the corner once more, watching Soul, and when he leaves, he continues his search for Pip's charging station. When he finds it, he brings our little guy back online. Um,
Uh, this was cute. I don't know, just him sniffing around every little charge hole, and then he finally finds one. I don't know.
yeah,
It just a nice little break from. I don't know. It's fun.
the intensity. Yeah,
Little
no,
little
I love
Basil.
Basil.
Yeah.
I love Basil.
Yeah.
Basil and Pip, hell of a duo. But after docking their ship on the hyperspace mechanism they have, Soul returns to the cockpit and hugs May, thinking she's Osha. And
Mhm.
he says she saved them. She saved him. That man corrupted your sister, and he pushed me to a place that I. And then he says, I'm sorry.
Mhm.
He says, it's time to face the High Council and tell them everything. So it's a place he hasn't gone to for quite some time. Um,
Ah.
you know,
Okay.
um,
Yeah. I guess I thought it was just merely like they don't even want to mention the dark side. Like to
mm,
Jedi, Sith, dark, anything is just no. But
and it
that's.
could be a place that I've never been.
Mhm.
The regret, the guilt in his performance, it's a place he hasn't gone in a
Yes.
long time.
Yes. Yes.
And likely whatever happened that night on Brendok.
What did this man do?
It's
What
looking worse and worse, man.
did
I
he
thought
just kill
like
them all? Like
it doesn't seem like it.
there
Like
weren't
they didn't.
saber, like what did he do? Like
I don't know. Whatever it is, it's not good though, and that sucks because I like Soul, bro. I really
I
do, but it's
know.
it's looking bad for my
It is
man's
not
here.
looking good. It is
No, it
not
looks
looking good at
awful.
all.
In fact, whatever happened is fucking terrible. At least that's how they're building it up. And like that's the other thing too about Jedi is that their guilt for something that might be comparatively a minor transgression could be pretty insurmountable. But like we know what happened. We know what ended, like how that ended. And if he feels that much guilt about it, it's not just that he's hiding what happened.
No.
It's not that he's
Some
hiding the deeds of others. Like, bro did something he was not supposed to do. Um, and I don't like it. But
Yeah. No bueno. But
yeah,
at least I don't know. You're right. He did have the performance of the episode. I just I knew at least he was gonna get it from you.
mm,
I'm loving. I don't know. I am loving
Manny
Manny
Jacinto,
Jacinto right
dude,
now.
he's
The calm,
good.
collected
Mhm.
performance here was.
Well, there's a really, really good parallel mirror between Soul and Chimere in this one. Um, where Soul is conducting himself in a way that Jedi shouldn't, and Chimera is conducting himself in a way that's not Sith-like. Um,
Oh.
he's giving her choice. Soul straps May to the bed. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
He
wow.
allows her to get up and go. She's free. Soul, you're going to listen. Like it's like
Okay.
there's a
Wow.
really interesting dichotomy happening between them that I really really like. Um
Man, yin yang's everywhere in this
mhm.
show.
Well, and not to mention that Soul and Chimere, Soul, I can't remember what language. I think Spanish is sun,
Mm-hmm.
and Chimere in Arabic is moon.
Oh, it's
Um,
Arab. Okay, I had no idea. I
um,
wow,
Well,
that's
it's Qamar in Arabic. It's not spelt the same, but like it's approximately the same. I'm pretty
that
sure it's
makes
Arabic too.
sense.
Sorry if I'm fucking up the languages there, but
Hmm.
yeah, sun and moon, like they
Wow.
are the flip side of one another, which I think is interesting. But yeah, he says then it's time to face the High Council and tell them everything. And just then the transmission barely breaks through again, but is quickly quelled by the power of the ship going out. Just when we thought we were going to get a little bit of an explanation, that happens like at least one other time in this episode.
Mm-hmm.
He sends May down to go check on that. She is obviously flustered because she does not have the mechanic inclination that OSHA does, which he thinks she is OSHA. So, um, yeah, notable. But I am also curious. I'm gonna I'm gonna ask this now because I do think it's relevant at this point in the episode. Does Soul realize that this is May, or
Hmm.
does Basil tell him it's May?
I feel like he has suspicions because he's asking questions. Like the way he's responding sometimes is
And
kind of like
he looks at her a little funny
it's like
every once in a
hmm,
while, like it's
and I feel like he's
and
sensing something off
mhm,
too. I feel like he's just off. But
right.
even in
Well, and he's overwhelmed, like that's the other thing is like he's
he's
in the
lost his
throes of
whole
grief.
team.
His
Yeah,
Padawan, he just lost his Padawan. His Padawan got murdered in front of him. Like
it's
that's,
true. Yeah.
like you're feeling things. So, but that's what I was curious about because at the end of
When?
the episode, Basil's like behind him, and it does seem sudden. It does seem sudden that he would go, "You're out," like go ahead and conk out right quick. Um, so I don't know. I'm just interested
He
in when that switch happens.
I mean, up until the like he stuns her and he says, "Oh May." It could be that he didn't fully know until he saw
Until he
the
stunned her.
until he saw the
Yeah,
swirl and he's like, "Oh, like okay.
May.
Well, I'm glad I stunned you." I
Like
feel like he
I
would have
think
stunned OSHA too.
he would have.
Yeah.
He wanted to get the fuck out of there and turn
Mhm.
his transponder off. Like he
Yeah.
didn't I don't think it mattered who was there. Like and that's not
He
good. Like I don't know
does
what
that mean
Soul's up to,
he
but
he wants OSHA to not come out of there alive either? Like because May would have lied and said this is OSHA because if she right like in
yeah,
the
yeah.
transmission so like
I'm assuming.
he's either stopping her because he knows that it's May and he knows that she's just gonna lie whatever or it's like he's gonna stop OSHA too no matter what and just it didn't matter.
I think I'm going with he knew it was May because I think OSHA he'd have been able to be like, hold on, like I got things I want to do. Like I think May he was nervous that he would have to tie her to a fucking bed and
Hmm.
like or tie her to the med bay and be like, all right, now you're gonna fucking listen. I think there's either a
Hmm.
realization that happened, but like the thing is that Basil's like right behind him when that happens, and he's like, I can't tell if he told him or if Basil's
Because
like surprised by what just happens because he like kind of looks at
because
Soul like,
Yord like Yord
yeah.
is the only one who can understand but I'm assuming there's something off like he can't
Hmm.
I don't, like there's body I don't know Basil could get
No,
the message
yeah, he can
across.
get well, and that's the other thing too is that May feels like somebody acting like OSHA.
Mm.
The way she says certain things, it like, and credit to Amanda Lestenberg here, uh,
Have you
to
told
be
me
able to
everything about that
emulate,
night? Yeah, it's like,
yeah, like, and whenever Soul brings up Pip, and she's like, I've always been like
mm,
that, even when I was younger. It's like
mm-hmm,
there's just they're not the same person, and it's obvious they're not the same person. So it either is a bad look for Soul and kind of gives credit to Kymir for what he thinks of the relationship between a master and a Padawan within the Jedi Order,
mm-hmm.
or he's just being vague about honesty with her. And I can't tell. But either way, back on Coruscant, Vernestra is informed by a Senator Chewant of the anti-Jedi movement within the Senate by a Senator Ryancourt. They aim to conduct an external review of the order. Um, and she grows a little grave. She says that Ryancourt has never been a friend to the Jedi and that his weaponized fear has convinced many. And Chewant insists that there's no need to worry. An external review is not that big of a deal. The Jedi are always transparent with the Senate.
Hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, And, Vernestra's like, yeah, we are. Sure, we are. Yeah, for
100%.
sure. No doubt. Yeah, that's exactly what we
100%.
do. Um,
I mean,
but
she could be like, this could be a slow cook. Like, if Vernestra is somehow Kymir's, like, could have been his Jedi Master. There's another step where you go further. I don't know. There's something going on, and it could just be the guilt from whatever happened. It'd be fucking sick if they took Palpatine to the next level, and they are
mm,
still in the Order while somehow being the Sith Lord. I
I
don't
think
know.
there's too much in private with her. Like, specifically what happens at the end of this episode when she turns away and talks to herself and is like something to tip the scales, like she's like surprised. She's like, like there is the perspective that if she is the Sith master, which I don't think she is, um, and I think most book readers would agree that
Hmm.
there's almost no fucking shot at that. Um,
Okay. It's just the whip.
but
The whip's the only thing kind of throwing me off. Just imagery of a whip is never
never
usually on
good.
the good side.
I mean,
And
Indiana Jones has a whip.
fair,
You
fair,
know, I like Indy.
fair enough. I will take it back. But I don't know. There's always been an air to Venestra that I've just.
There's a real intensity about her,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, that's why I think there is something to the idea that there's more to Vernestra. It's not that
Not
she's a
Sith
Sith.
Lord. Yeah, that's.
There is actually something in this episode that is expressly a reference to the books with Vernestra.
Mm,
That's not important. So I think it's a little bit of a wink at book readers to be like, if that's what people are worried about, you don't have to worry about that. You know
hmm.
what I'm saying? Like, at least I mean, like, Star Wars has never been afraid to retcon
Mm-hmm.
books, though. That's why I'm like, I don't know. And we
Yeah.
are a good 100 years removed from the events of the book she's in. So, a lot can happen. So that's why I'm
Mm.
like, I'm going with the I know Vernestra and Vernestra wouldn't, but I can't blame non-book readers for having that suspicion right now. They are doing a real vague thing with her,
Yeah.
and
I don't
it's
buy into it a whole lot. It is just one of my crackpot, kind of out there.
mhm.
But it is. I don't think maybe Sith Lord is the answer, but there's an air to her where there's something, and it might
I
just
mean,
be.
similar to Soul, like
Mm-hmm.
whatever, like but she's better at buttoning it up. Like, it's not eating at her the way it's eating at Soul, and I
Hmm.
don't, I don't
Maybe
know
just
what
the
that
higher up
is.
the chain
Well,
you go in
and
the
the further
Jedi.
removed it is, like if Soul doesn't like Chimera says it was a long time ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And obviously Vernestra is over a century old. Soul's probably what, 50 maybe.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably high end for Soul. Um, like they weren't I don't get the impression that Chimera was a youngling. I take the impression that he precedes Soul. Like, he is a
Yeah. He's older than him.
this man's older than Joe Biden. You know what I'm
How?
saying?
But yeah, like I don't. But he seems very ancient, and like maybe that's how he's so collected. Is that like all this drama that is crazy right now? It's just Jedi to him. It's just like
Hmm.
he just has to kill Jedi. Like that's all he's really focused on. And then finding a pupil. He's like, I just want to find someone that's good enough and that can be that sec or hot and maybe in a relationship, but really I just want a pupil, you know. But um
No, I don't know. I mean, regardless, I'm excited to see however it unfolds. But just when the transmission is kind of reaching its ending, a Padawan enters. The Padawan from the transmission. His name is Mog.
mm,
Padawan Mog.
mm,
And we learn he informs Vernestra of the disturbing call from Sol. And he says that Sol reportedly lost his whole team. She becomes urgent and grave and says they need to send a team to Kofar. And he's like, "How the fuck you know they out there?" And she's like, "I sent him there." Um, are we getting the impression that he is Vernestra's Padawan or just a Padawan reporting to
yeah.
Vernestra?
I didn't know how to quite read that either. It seems like whenever they're down there, like what do you see? It seems very
Mhm.
master Padawan, but it could just be
But
that's what she's used to.
if she is
Like
the council, like they are kind of masters to everybody.
mhm.
That's why I'm like, it is curious. I don't think I think they would have made it a little bit more clear if he was her Padawan. You know, like they don't even communicate about her going on the mission. She's just like, Mug, get a team together, go to Kofar, and then she shows up and
That's
he's like,
true. He's like, "You're
"Oh,
going
are
to?
you're
You're
coming?" You know?
oh." Um
But yeah, regardless, back on the island, Osha inquires to Kymir. She says he speaks as though he was once a Jedi, and he confirms that he was a long time ago. And she says that she's never heard of him, and he reaffirms it was a really long time ago. And she tells
hmm,
him that if he holds on to her, Soul will find them. He's very powerful in the Force, and he's found her before. And he counters that this is her strength in the Force, not his.
mhm.
Someone ought to teach her that. I
Mhm.
love the little slides he's given her, like,
That's
you ought to learn,
yeah.
you know?
Yeah, I don't know who. I have no idea who.
Right, right.
No clue who could teach you this, but I don't know. I got some food. I got a nice island.
Yeah.
Uh,
He's
but
like, yeah,
yeah,
if you want to get out to your ship, go ahead and start swimming. You'll
he's
want to make it there before nightfall,
yeah.
but I'm about to make some dinner.
Damn.
So
Was the skinny dip just part of the manipulation? Just be like, look how hot I am. Do you want to leave? Do you seriously think you're gonna leave right now?
I think
Like,
that's part of it. I think it's part of it. I think another thing to consider is that like one of the things that made him egregiously sexy in the last episode was that his arms were like caked in dirt.
mm-hmm.
I think this is how he bathes.
That's true. It could,
You
yeah.
know,
I think it's more just proving the point that it's like he's utterly defenseless. Like he's
mhm.
showing to be
Yeah,
defenseless and
yeah.
not worried about anything at
Well,
all.
and he's
But
putting on that he
like,
trusts her,
mm-hmm.
like,
Yeah.
and he so much so that he puts a fucking lightsaber to his chin later on in this episode and is like, pull the fucking switch, but, um,
Mm-hmm.
in his hut, Osha inquires how it could possibly be her strength in the Force. The Jedi teach that if you do not train, your ability will fade. Chimera retorts that this is just one way to engage with the Force. It is their way. There is a much deeper well of emotion. And looking to his little fire, he says anger, fear, loss. And then he looks directly at her and goes, desire. Um,
God damn it, man. I mean, I've already seen so many edits from this line alone.
yeah,
The
yeah.
amount of thirst traps that are posted immediately after every episode is insane. And
Oh, it's absurd.
that's I think that's a good sign. That's when you know, I don't know. Star Wars is doing
Things are
something
alive
right.
and well. Well, and that's the thing too, is that like there's a whole narrative online that like nobody's watching the Acolyte. Hasbro released a Black Series Stranger helmet. Like,
Ooh. Uh-huh.
you want it? You
Uh-huh.
can't have it. Sold out immediately. It sold out in an hour. Like that shit was gone. So like it's
Damn.
people are watching it and people are fucking liking it, like it's been a while
Yeah.
since they've put something out and it's been like,
Mm-hmm.
nope, like
Mm.
like that's a good sign, as far as, the consumer side of things, but she says that those things he describes there are the dark side and that he murdered her friends. He retorts that he defended himself against Jedi
Mm-hmm.
who say he can't exist. And she says he killed Yord, and he retorts that he was one who would have happily turned her in for a crime she didn't commit.
Mm-hmm.
And she breaks a little and says that he killed Jackie. And he asks, "Yeah, what did you think was going to happen there?"
Yeah, he can't really defend it. I don't know. He's like, yeah, that's a child. Fuck, I don't know. Where do you think this one's gonna go though? Like, sorry, it's just the nature
Well,
of the
and
job.
also, and also kind of just being like, you liked her,
Mm-hmm.
like you were into her. Why? What'd you think was going to come to that? Why do you have these relationships?
Ah.
Why do you attach yourself to somebody who can only go so far the other direction? Why,
Dang, he
you know,
knows. He says I can't
yeah.
read your mind. Anger is clouding your judgment. Maybe he knows all the dark emotions. He
Hmm.
can read all
Right.
those and read why she's angry, read why she was in love. But and
He
maybe
says that she would have found that to be like every other relationship at the Jedi, like her relationship with Master Soul, one-sided.
mm-hmm.
And I was like, damn, bro's good. Bro's
Wall
good. But
handing the bowl over. Why love someone who can only love so much or love you so far? Like,
can only go so
are
far,
you
who can
kidding
only
me,
go
dude?
who can't go as deep as she can.
She just
Yeah.
cooked her a meal, some soup. I don't know. I want this soup. Yeah,
I do.
I want his little cave. I want
I like the cave. The cave's a vibe.
little cortosis vein running
Yep,
up
yep.
down the middle. That's kind of cool. But just I don't know. It feels like a Mando, um, kind of armorer kind of
Yeah, the
esque.
covert sort of thing. Yeah.
And I don't know. I'm digging the vibe. But
I do. I dig it. But she says in response to this that she is not her sister and that she is not so easily corrupted. And she storms out and is followed onto a naturally occurring balcony, which I think is cute. It's got the railing and everything. Like he's clearly set himself up here. Um, but he
mm-hmm.
asks why she doesn't just kill him. You came here for a reason. You came at me with a knife for a reason. Why don't you do it? He grabs the saber that she is carrying and puts it to his chest, grabbing and holding her forearm to keep it there.
Mm-hmm.
She says that a Jedi doesn't kill the unarmed, and he questions, why do you still think of yourself as a Jedi? You know? And he says, they didn't want you. And she says, she left. He asks why. She says she chose to. He questions, are you sure about that?
Mm-hmm.
And she pulls away, but he pulls the saber up, pointing it towards his chin. He says that what she's feeling, this anger, this pain, that is who she is, and the Jedi saw it, and they threw her away. She says they didn't throw her away, and he asks again, so why aren't you a Jedi? And tensions come to a boil as she blurts out that she failed. And with tear-filled eyes, she ignites the saber and puts it to Kymir's neck.
Mm-hmm.
And it's in this moment that he softens. He tells her, I understand. I lost everything. And it's only when you lose everything that you are finally free. And throughout the whole time, he's grabbing her forearm, kind of not even grabbing her forearm, like holding it,
Yep.
just gently.
Mm-hmm.
And they look deeply into one another's eyes, and then she backs away, deactivating the saber. Now,
Yeah.
this is specifically what's getting the people going.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of the scene that's building the most tension between them. Obviously, when he was naked in front of her, there's yeah.
Clear.
But this is like explicitly a parallel to Kylo and Rey. Um,
Mm.
Blatant as all hell.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the Jedi, the Sith, they're nothing. They're
Yeah.
nothing. You
Join
know,
me.
Yeah, join me. We can rule the galaxy side by side.
I've
He
never
says,
wanted it more. Like Ray, I knew it wasn't. I don't know. Ray would
mhm.
never. I
Well,
guess it's.
yeah. And
But
that's what makes this interesting is that there is a
mm,
chance here. And that's what makes it even more like the difference between Kylo and Kymir is that Kylo is holding on to the dark for dear life. He's trying his best to
mm,
convince himself that is who he is. There is not a single part of Kymir that feels like he isn't that. Kymir knows for a fact
mm,
that he is dark-sided. He doesn't even desire to be light. There's not even a little bit of him that's like guilty about what he's doing,
nope.
you know?
Mm-hmm.
So like I think the key difference in those relationships, obviously Osha was brought up within the Jedi. She got to experience the, you know, repression that the Jedi push onto you, that sort of like May voices it, but I think it's a real thing that most Jedi feel. It's almost a guarantee. The whole like I had to cut off so many corners of myself to become a Jedi. Like there was so much I had to sacrifice of myself to
Mm,
be a Jedi. I think that's pretty universally probably the case for a lot of people, especially when you're brought into the order late, like they were at
man,
8 years old. Um,
it's almost like it's all culminating as like the Jedi set these rules in place and you got to follow them, and it's like it's not even right with like how to use the Force. It might be the right way, but it's just to the Jedi. Like ask yourself, do you think it's I don't know how other,
right.
but like it feels like it's just all these rules that are set in place, blah blah blah. But Kymir himself has his own rules. You can't kill you have to kill a Jedi without a weapon. There's all these kind of shackles on them, and maybe an ending that I just kind of saw that I would like is May and Osha just finally teaming up again, realizing Kymir had a hold over May the whole time, that it truly wasn't her fault of what she was doing. The Jedi had a hold over Osha the whole time. Now that they're kind of seeing each other's world, now they're both literally, I don't know, it kind of, they've met again, and now it feels like they're living in reverse a little bit. It's just, yeah, they've crossed that
They're the
threshold
two
point.
moons
Hmm.
eclipsing.
Yeah, and it was
Um,
halfway through the season as well. Like
mhm.
maybe, right? No, did they meet? When did they meet? No, it was last end of last episode,
Yeah,
right?
but that
So,
the 4 and 5 function as a double episode, which 1, 2, 3, 6, 7 is kind of
mm,
in the middle,
okay, yeah, but it feels that it might not take the same amount of time, that they're
Right.
gonna be in the order and train with Chimera, but it feels that they're getting each other's worlds, each other's perspectives, and now that they'll come together maybe somehow, and it would feel nice if um maybe Chimera puts these same kind of restrictions on to Osha. May is lost to him, I guess now, right? Like, is they're not like May? If Chimera sees May, is he just trying to kill May, or does he
No,
still see her as a pupil still, or is he just kind of done, like it's over with?
I think I don't know. That's a good question. I hadn't really considered that, because I don't fully buy that he was actually trying to kill May in episode 5. Like I think if he wanted May dead, he would have fucking killed May. He had every fucking he was literally holding a saber to her head at one point. He was trying to corrupt the Jedi. He was trying to get them to do something they're not supposed to do. So it is tough to say what his relationship to May would be at this point. Maybe, he's talking about wanting the power of two. Is there any chance that the lessons he's imposed onto May and onto Osha they end up taking for themselves and betraying Kymir?
Am I crazy?
Um,
Could he be their father in any way? Could he be the Palpatine that put the Force baby in the two
no,
like
no.
did they need, maybe that's the connection during their birth. He had to, I don't know, maybe he gave them the knowledge, like he's like, hey, here's how we've been doing it, you guys can do it. And this is like he's like a Bene Gesserit planning Osha and May, and then
Mhm.
he's taking them as their pupil, kind of
Yeah,
like.
I seriously doubt it. That when it comes to I haven't really given a lot of thought to how Kymir and May come into contact initially. Um, I would be interested to know that.
Just
And
a classic I'm your father. Like if imagine they get epic lightsabers, a fucking they and all these parallels that are happening, and they also drop a I'm your fucking father line. I don't know. I don't.
I think it would be bad. That's my thing, is that it's a fun idea, but at this point, I think it would just kind of make everybody
Hmm.
go,
It'd be
"What?"
weird. Yeah, it's like, wait, no, actually,
Um,
no. We wanted you to
yeah,
be like a thing, and now you can't be a
yeah,
thing. And then,
yeah.
yeah,
Well, and
okay.
there's also an
Hmm.
element to it that's like I don't know how much I want them to be a thing, but I do know that they're obviously building a tension.
Hmm.
Whether that is truly romantic, there's obviously a manipulation at hand. There's no doubt. Like Chimera is trying to seduce her,
Hmm.
for more reason than one, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I don't know if I want to see it or not. I mean, I do for a little bit, but I don't want it to sustain. I don't want it
right.
to be forever. I want to.
Yeah, no, I would enjoy seeing Osha give in and then kind of being like, hold up. No.
Mm-hmm.
Like I need to think about that a little bit. Like because that's the fun of the dark side is the way that people tap into it is that like I want there to be conflict. I don't want her to just give herself over. I don't want her to just be
Mm-hmm.
like, "Yep, I'm dark now. What's up?" Like I think that there will be flashes of that. And then I think the is killing Soul. I think that I think there is little chance OSHA is the one who OSHA isn't the one who kills Soul.
It
Um,
feels right. Like it's
it
weird.
does.
At the
Yeah.
beginning of the show, I would have never said that. But now that I'm here, it feels that it's the natural progression. And
I'm interested to see how May because you're right about them living sort of the flip side of things now. And May kind of being like, OSHA being alive changes everything. I'm gonna turn myself in. I'm gonna do all this. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this. And being good, like
mm-hmm.
basically seeing the error of her ways in some capacity. She does talk to OSHA and is like, they're Jedi, they've manipulated you. Like, I don't think she has remorse. She's just kind of like, it's the quote unquote right thing to do because because OSHA's alive.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll be interested to see if May is disappointed in OSHA for giving in, like,
Mm. Or
or
if
if
it's like
she'll
a
be
good,
proud of
yeah,
her.
like
Yeah, like if
finally.
there's, yeah,
Hmm.
or if it's like one of those things where she thinks she wants that
Like
for
this
OSHA and then it
isn't what you
happens.
want. Yeah.
Yeah, and then it happens and she's
That
like, fuck, like
that's
I,
a culmination that I could see is OSHA trying to free May from Chimere, but she has to go into the dark in order to do so. And that's
mm,
what she thinks. There's no way I could defeat Chimere on my own, but if I go into the dark, I am just gifted. Maybe there is something to just them where they're just fucking gifted as shit and she could, I don't know. But maybe it seems that way. Osha's going to kill Chimere or something to help May and release her from the contract. But then May is like, no, no, no. Like, actually, do not. If you do this, you'll start down a path that you don't want to go down. And then they just together. They are the power of two. They finally
hmm
she learns to block. I feel like that's gonna
or
happen.
some,
Like, you
yeah,
never
there's
learn to
probably,
block. She's gonna block something. Um, and I don't know. I feel it feels that Osha and May have to come around. I don't like it, that's the end. That I feel like they don't go on their separate ways. I feel like they come to an understanding. They understand each other. They're
yeah,
together
it
for a
feels like we're
moment.
building, it feels like well, I mean, like they could, maybe that's the imagery of the eclipse, that maybe they are together for a moment, but it passes,
Ah,
like it doesn't last. It's not permanent, you know?
hmm,
And so
dude.
like there's a lot of interesting ways this could go. And that's the thing that I'm excited about is that like for as much as I'm fairly certain is going to happen, which is I mean, again, Leslie Headland talked about it with the reveal last week that it's not she knew people would know Chimere was the
Mm-hmm.
stranger. She
Yeah.
knew people would get that. But it's how she does it that is the more interesting. Like I am 99% certain OSHA will kill Soul. I am comfortable
Yeah.
being that confident.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
I am intent. I have no idea how they do it though. You know what I'm saying? I have no idea how we get there. I am confident that that is what will happen. No idea what happens between now and then. You know what I'm saying? And that's what's exciting is figuring out what
Mm-hmm. Like,
that moment is. And
so many possibilities now.
mhm.
Yeah, there's an open web
It
before.
will May feel good about that. Will May feel bad about that. Like it's there's so many different things at play because
Mm,
now I'm of the mind Vernestra's going to be there. I think Vernestra's going to show up somehow. I don't know how she's going to, but I'm fairly certain she will.
yeah,
When's the bigger Sith Lord going to show up? Does he show up when all of them
yeah.
are facing off with each other? Is there
There's no
like
way we get a singular whip and it's just to kill an Umbra moth.
yeah.
It's not. There's no way. Like, we gotta. She will have some confrontation. Maybe it's Soul. maybe it's
Ooh.
Chimere. Maybe it is. I feel I feel
Ooh, yeah,
pretty.
maybe Soul gives himself to the dark side again to try and take down
I
Chimera.
want to see some yellow eyes in anybody. Literally, I think OSHA is pretty likely. Chimere, I feel like it's likely at first, but almost he will never get like he. I don't know. I
He's
feel like
too he's so
he's so fucked
he-
up that
that
he.
he's dispassionate, like he's disconnected. Like it's not even like
Yeah,
it's like he cares about his mission, but he doesn't care enough to like invest himself,
I don't
which
know.
is
That
fascinating.
could be a super power up though. Maybe he never uses it, so that way, whenever he does, he's like, well, he's like,
Yeah, do
I.
do we see force lightning? Is that something that ever comes up? Is that something that could be cool to see?
We still
Like
haven't seen how he exploded in the orange dust. Like we haven't seen that happen. Like we just know that it did. Like the first initial boom that killed like most of the Jedi, and then he went to go fight him and left the
he
orange
only
shit
killed
in the
one.
forest. Oh, okay.
Um,
I guess it maybe
that
didn't.
was a force push. That was the last thing
Oh,
that
okay. So
happened.
it was just like
That
a.
it was, and it was like it
Hmm.
was the dirt and the soil that
That's
did
true.
that.
I guess the morgue, right? Mog.
Mog. Yeah.
Mog coming up. He says like an explosion first and then a battle. I guess maybe just they think it's an explosion because of just
I think that's
the
just how much
force push.
force he gave out.
Hmm.
Like it's just like
It's just
it
boosh.
almost looks like a fucking explosion happened. Like
Okay.
and that's not how Jedi wield the force,
Yeah.
like
I
it
guess
looks like somebody blew
that's
something
true.
up.
In my mind, I thought there
Um
was still some hidden ability that we haven't seen from him yet. But
I don't think so. I mean, but like he's a Sith, so like
I,
if he has some other a greater ability, that could be I
lightning
think
feels pretty likely.
especially if he's almost 100 years old. They say that takes forever to figure out. Like it's
Hmm.
I could see that happening.
Feel like his lightsaber. I don't know. I don't know if any lightsaber can just become a whip. I don't know how the the functions work there. But if there is some
Yeah,
tie to Vernestra and him, it could be
that could
sick.
be
If
really
I
cool.
mean, what a Swiss Army knife of a lightsaber to come apart and have the two little blades and
That'd
then a
be
whip
gnarly.
maybe. I feel like still he can flip the other small piece around and have a double sided blade. I really
Hmm.
want to see that. Um, but I don't know. Yeah, that's a lot of. I have
A
no
lot of
idea
possibilities.
where
A
we're
lot of
going now.
possibilities.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. So all that to say, that scene was really good. Um, that scene where they're on the balcony and she holds the
Hmm.
saber to his neck.
That
That's
is
where
my
we were.
scene. Yeah, that is
Yeah,
my scene
yeah.
for the
I
episode.
figured so.
But
That's
see, yeah, we can get I can go quite the
we'll go deep.
distance.
We'll go deep.
Yeah.
But back on Coruscant, Vernestra asks Padawan Mog if he's heard from Sol, but communication has been disrupted, and she informs him that she'll be joining them, and he reminds her that she gets nauseous on trips in hyperspace.
Hmm.
And she says that she doesn't get sick. She finds it unsettling. And this is the book detail
Okay,
that
thank you.
is
Good.
she gets visions in hyperspace. She doesn't she finds it unsettling because she sees shit. Um
Oh.
yeah, and it's not 100% of the time. It's not every time. Um
Hmm.
but
Wow.
there's a through line in the High Republic book trilogy where it's still in relatively early days of hyperspace. Not super early, but like they're still mapping the lanes and they're still doing stuff. And there's plenty that's well established. There's a lot of the galaxy that's still unexplored. Like a
Okay.
hundred years earlier, they're kind of expanding the Republic to the Outer Rim for the first time, trying to
Oh shit.
bring
Okay.
worlds in. So they're establishing travel through the Outer Rim essentially. And there's a character named Mari Santeca who is Force capable, but the way she connects to the Force is that she can see hyperspace lanes. She
Oh.
can just she can go here, 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 here. And it's kind of inferred that Vernestra has a similar capability, not exactly the same. But whenever she's in hyperspace, she enters a mode and she
Wow.
can she can see either what she's going into
Uh-huh.
or the worst possible version of what she's going into,
Okay,
which is typically
that's what I was gonna ask. If it's
why it's unsettling.
related to the trip that she's taking, kind of always, or if
It
it's
has been, and other times it's not. Other
hmm.
times, like it's just like any Jedi premonition, as they say. Like that, it can be much more metaphorical. Like there's another character in the High Republic who continuously has a vision of a planet being destroyed and all of his friends dying. That is a vision he has, not a
Mm.
not a dream, not a nightmare. It is a vision. He's like, I'm there, I'm experiencing it. It's not a dream.
Ooh.
And that at least hasn't happened yet. Spoilers for the High Republic. A planet hasn't exploded and all the Jedi haven't died. Um,
Huh.
so that's good to know.
Okay. But
But we still got a couple books left. I don't
I don't
know.
know if this is an editing choice or if she has this ability, but kind of like the Cal Kestis, just being in the
Yeah, the
area.
echoes.
Yeah, Force
No,
Echo,
she's
is that?
feeling that. Yeah.
Yeah, and
I don't think that's not so specific to her. Like we see with Cal Kestis, we saw it with Ahsoka and Ahsoka,
mm-hmm.
that's more I think that there are certain Jedi who have that strength. And she's among them. She
It
has that
seems like
strength.
it. I was gonna
Um,
maybe say that maybe when she's in hyperspace, if like it is,
she can
she's just
hear
hearing
that.
the echoes through. Um, I guess it's usually not the past. Maybe it's always like something in the future. So maybe the echo
Yeah,
doesn't quite make
typically.
sense. But
Yeah.
I don't know. The echo is pretty cool, and I didn't know if like the other if her Padawan or I don't know if that is her Padawan, but the other Jedi there is hearing that, or if it's just Venestra, hearing the
I think it's
echo.
just Vernestra. I think that whenever she's like, what's it look like happened here? She knows what happened
Ah,
here.
okay,
She's
yeah.
just teaching the Padawan what happened, like
She's like
she's heard all of it,
fair,
maybe
yeah.
not all of it, but echoes of it. And
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, she says that she finds hyperspace unsettling, which she does. But
Hmm.
he once again tries to talk her down, like, hey, like it is a far trip. Are you sure? And she's like, if it's okay with you, I would like to see to this personally. And the Padawan's like, yep, yep, sorry about that.
Is it just they don't
Master
want
of
a
the High
boss on the
Council.
ship? It's just
Yeah.
like get nervous. Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. I didn't know if there was something else there. Like they're just like
Yeah, I don't think there's anything.
it's just
I think it's just I think it's from a good place. I think it's that he's genuinely worried. Master Soul said that a bunch of Jedi died. You're really valuable.
hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
like you find you get sick in hyperspace. It might just be best if you don't go, and but
Mog,
the
good old
fact that
Mog.
she does insist that she should be the one to go. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and then what happens when they are there? I think she's putting pieces together that only she knows.
Mm-hmm.
The master of cover-ups. She loves covering shit up. Wouldn't surprise me one bit if she covered up that one of her Padawans is no longer in the order or something like that. But back on Soul's ship, May looks for a way to repair the ship's power, but she's confronted by Pip and Basil, who double team her and briefly take her down. I love Basil stomping on her foot,
Mm.
her turning around, getting the shit sprayed in her face, the fucking
That was
scream
a good
she
scream.
lets out. Oh, great
Just like
scream.
a
Shout out
fucking.
again,
Are
shout out
you
to Amanda
serious?
Listenberg.
Yeah,
Yeah, like,
all in one
it's,
scream.
oh, dude, I love it. I love it. But May snags Pip and resets him to factory setting. R.I.P. Pip.
It's kind of
Rip
funny.
Pip.
Yeah, just like a
It is
good old
pretty like
iPhone buttons. You hold
yeah,
the power and volume
literally the
button.
exact
Like,
same function. It was incredible. But she tasks him with running a diagnostic after finding him a compatible body
mm-hmm.
body unit. But Basil escapes from the room, and he finds himself in a space fit for his size, making his way through the little ventilation shafts in the ship. And May immediately clocks him, but she is called up to the cockpit overhead. Um,
Is
and luckily,
Basil and Pip a genius? Was this to reveal the tattoo or the marking on May's forehead so that Basil
oh,
knows
like
for
when
sure
she
it's May and then he runs to go tell Soul? Is like
Yo,
is this cuz he
maybe
does just stomp on her foot and go. He's like, "Fuck. Like, oh my god, you're May. I'm out of here." And hmm,
that'd be interesting. That would be interesting. But
mastermind Basil and Pip
I
here.
love Basil. I
Uh,
love Basil and Pip. But she's called the Soul, who sits contemplating in his bunk, and she asks what's going on, and he responds with self-contempt, wondering how he could not have possibly sensed that villain's intentions back on Olega. And May responds that when you want something bad enough, it can cloud judgment. You see what you want to see, and he fooled them all. being very transparent there, even fooled him or even fooled her. She had no idea.
Mm-hmm.
But he notices then that she found Pip, and he observes that he's seen the way she cares for him and loves him, even though he is a mere machine.
Mm.
May says that she has always been like that, which Soul knows. And May speaks from the perspective of her sister, saying she had to lose a lot of herself in order to become a Jedi. And Soul hits her with a classic dad apology. I'm
Damn.
sorry if you felt that way.
Oh, yeah, that is literally what I just told you. I did feel
Yeah,
that way. Yeah, that
yeah.
I don't know. It was
Not sorry that we made you feel that way. Sorry if you felt that way.
damn. That is rough. That is.
Like that's not a good, that's notoriously the worst apology you can give. You know what I'm saying? Like nobody is ever satisfied with sorry that you felt that way or sorry if you felt that way
Yeah.
specifically. Like it's just like, no, I did feel that way. That's why I'm fucking
Yeah.
telling you,
Wow.
like yeah, no, that's so there's a lot from here on. Bad vibes, terrible vibes from Soul, just awful vibes. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but she inquires how she could have possibly felt another way. And Soul sighs and she asks if he's told her everything there is to know about what happened on Brindok. And he deflects, you were very young. And she goes, but I'm not anymore. You can tell me. And he looks down, abashed, and he looks up at her, and then the power comes back on. Great little, saved by the bell.
The Force
And he
works
looks
in
down.
mysterious ways, I
Mhm.
guess. Yeah, I don't know,
Yeah.
but
And she walks to the cockpit, quite disappointed. And she reaches the comm, but as she is about to identify herself, Soul shoots her with a stun gun. And presumably at Basil's instruction, kind of vague, can't really tell.
mm,
Basil's right there. So, like, it's an interesting detail to include that Basil's right there if it's not Basil being like, hey, check that out.
mm-hmm. And I might have read it as like, is he suspicious of Soul now? Like, because he kind of reacts to it, kind of like,
He is after this, at
yeah, he's
least,
like, oh, he's like,
Yeah.
wait a minute, I'm gonna
I didn't
just,
think you were gonna fucking do that. Like,
mm-hmm. So,
okay. Yeah, so like that's what's unclear is I can't tell like I feel like now Basil's not on Soul, like so, he doesn't fuck with Soul anymore. Um However, if like it's unclear if Soul knows Basil's there.
I
Um
know he doesn't like pay attention to
because
him really at all.
even in the next scene, obviously Basil's not around. Is that because Soul was like, I need you to go to another room while I talk to May, or or is Basil going to be lurking around the corner listening whenever this happens? Like
I
I
think
don't
he's
like
concerned. Yeah, he's
I
like,
think he is too. Like, I don't think he trusts Soul anymore, which I think is a cool, like, it's fascinating that we're speculating on the feelings of Basil, who felt like a comedic relief even in this episode, but like, there's clearly something
mm-hmm.
at least almost empathic about him. Like he can sense when things aren't right,
Is he a
like it's
Jedi? I guess I've never.
no,
He's
he's
just
just a
someone they
tracker.
brought
He's just
on
a
as the
tracker.
tracker.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know. I didn't know if this dude has force abilities, and I didn't
That
know
would
about
be
it. But
awesome if Basil just like whips out the fucking blade and is like, Soul, like
challenge
fight me.
me.
Yeah,
Yeah,
attack me with all your strength.
he's the Sith Lord.
Basil
Basil's
is
the
whose
Sith
eyes
Lord.
turn yellow in the episode,
Yeah, he
that'd
can
be
actually
wonderful.
speak the whole time. He just
Yeah,
speaks in
the whole time.
perfect basic. Just face me.
Attack
Yeah,
me.
just
And it's like the voice you least expect,
Darth
he's
Vader. James Earl
yeah.
Jones comes back to voice Basil. Yeah, or
I
rest
am
in peace.
Basil.
But
He's got
yeah,
this deep
but
fucking timbre tom to his voice. But
uh,
I accidentally scrolled up or down or one way or the other on this shit.
hmm. We just
There we go.
stunned.
Okay.
I guess
Yeah.
we just got
He
done
looks
stunning her. But
he looks down and seems to realize it's May. He goes, "Oh, May. Like, what are you doing? What did you do more
mm-hmm.
specifically? Like where's OSHA? Like it's a whole thing. But a voice comes over the comm telling him to stay put and leave his transponder on, but he promptly turns it off and launches into hyperspace. There is no hesitation involved.
Boom.
He's
Yeah.
like, nope, yep, and I'm out. Nice and easy. And that is the second to last scene we have with them. But back on the island, Kymir works to repair his helmet, and Osha asks him if he gave the same pitch to her sister. And he responds that he misread May. He thought that they wanted the same thing, the power of two. And he wipes the sweat from his brow, lifting up his shirt, revealing again his scar. And Osha asks how he got it. And he responds with the question, "How do you think?" And she says, "It looks like he got stabbed in the back." And he alludes to their
Ooh.
earlier conversation, saying, "It was someone who threw me away." So he's pushing her in that direction. He's pushing her to go,
Oh yeah.
I was betrayed by the Jedi. This is what happens when you align yourselves with them. We're the same.
Mm-hmm.
Like don't buy it.
No.
He's being way too vague about it for it to be the 100% truth.
Maybe a
Um
parallel between him and Venestra. Again, Venestra asks Mog, "What do you see?" Like she knows, and she's it is seen as a lesson, but could be a way for her just to easily cover up things. It's just
well,
what's the opinion of the Jedi? What does he see?
mhm.
And I know what the fuck's going on, and so she can control every detail. And now Chimere saying, "What do you
Well,
think?"
and
But
another interesting one could be, you know, someone who threw him away. What if he's not the Sith apprentice anymore? What if he was cast aside and he is trying to work to
oh,
kill the other two Sith so that
oh.
they are the master and apprentice?
That's a
You know?
very good way of having him still be a dark side user, but still have the two big dogs up
Mhm.
there. And then the two big dogs, or one of them has to come in and be like, "Well, you can't exist. Sorry." Like right. Or are they actively seeking out anyone who is a dark side user? And they have to kill them to keep the rule of two alive, or is it just kind of like if they encounter one that they'll be like, "Well,
It's a lot of there's a lot of technicalities going on with the Sith. Because like as we see during the Clone Wars, like Dooku has an apprentice, Maul exists, Maul has an apprentice. It's basically the Sith are whoever thinks they're the Sith.
that's fair."
Like
Yeah,
Maul thought that him and Savage were the two Sith, you know? Like nobody else is the Sith. Dooku knew that Asajj wasn't technically a Sith, but he kept her on as an apprentice,
uh,
Like so there's a
it
lot
is
of
all just
like
fake. Maybe
it's
it
all
is.
just it's all just labels,
There's no
Like
literal. It's just to keep him fighting. It
yeah,
is.
exactly. Like there's
Hmm.
so maybe there was a point when it was like that, when it was like we seek out dark side users and we eliminate them, we can be the only ones.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I don't buy that either, Like it's just like I think it's just like the Sith decide we are the Sith. It's us too, baby. It's us against the world. Let's do this thing, Like and I think that
Hmm.
that's a funny way to look at it, but I think it is how they look at it. But she questions if it was his Jedi master who did it to him. And he neither confirms nor denies this, and he pivots subject and gives a quick knock on his helmet. He goes, "Cortosis."
Cool shit.
Uh,
Listen.
yeah, he's like, "Check this shit out. It's handy against lightsabers, but it's also a sensory deprivation headpiece like we used in training." Um, and he says it's just you, the Force, and what you bring with you, which is a
Oh.
wonderful connection to Empire. Um,
Hmm.
that's what Yoda says whenever Luke is going into the cave, where he sees Vader.
Wow.
He's like, it's just you and the Force and what you bring with you. So
Hmm.
like it's a
OSHA
dark
going
side
through a very
thing.
similar, like this is her Dagobah kind.
Hmm.
This is
Yeah.
and going through that cave where Luke sees Vader. Who does
Hmm.
who does OSHA see? Who is
Yeah.
um
Well, and that's why like I do suspect like there was a lot of speculation about this being Octu, which I'm surprised we have not brought up yet.
It's true. I just didn't want to jump the gun. I
Um,
don't know because I know once that's at least done.
that's a pretty big
It's a seal to
conversation.
break. But
Yeah. And I suspect it could be the same planet. I mean, you don't draw on this imagery without it being intentional, and you don't make all these parallels to The Last Jedi and expect us not to go, I think that's Octu, especially when
unknown planet as
they've
well.
named every fucking planet. What the fuck do you mean unknown
Come on.
planet?
Yeah.
You're hiding the name of the planet, like that's the thing that holds me back from it being Octu
Mm-hmm.
is that Octu is in the unknown regions and you need a wayfinder to get there. Now, once you know the way, you don't need a wayfinder anymore. I think Ray shows us that, but um, it will be interesting if Soul can just find them, or if Vernestra can just find them. What's the
Hmm.
relationship to Octu? Like, is it Octu? I can't tell. And I hope maybe we get a name. Obviously, there's been a Wikipedia article
The
floating around about the potential name of this planet with a cortosis mine. Um,
Baldimnic, something like
Baldemnik.
that. Yeah, Baldimnic. But I I mean the I don't know about Tenebrus. How do you know?
I have no idea.
Plagueis, is that Plagueis's master
I
or
thought yes. I thought I knew as much about Star Wars as most people can. I didn't. I've never read Legends, but I've combed the materials.
Mhm.
I'd never once in my life heard of Darth Tenebrous until this show was
Until
going on.
okay.
Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
very new to me as well. But
I'd never heard of him, and I didn't actually think I knew as much as there was to know. I want to make that clear. But
wait. There was a senator that gave Ernestra a message, same species as this guy.
as
I'm
Tenebrous,
pretty certain. Yeah.
I'm pretty certain it's not.
I don't
Tenebrous is a Bith, right?
yeah. Oh,
Bith.
yeah. Bith. That's funny.
Yeah.
I don't it
The
just
same as the fucking Cantina, or not the yeah, the Cantina band.
it looks like
There,
it. Yeah. Is that
yeah, that's the same
okay?
species.
Mm-hmm. So that dude wasn't.
The senator is I feel like there's a pilot in the sequels who's the same species as him, but it's not a Bith. Um,
Hmm. Yeah, who is I don't know. I guess the head shape just kind of looked similar for
yeah,
some
yeah,
reason.
similar vibe there. But
Was
now that's like when it comes to that and the inclusion of those characters, they can't just assume the audience knows who Tenebris and Plagueis is,
mm-hmm.
you know?
It's legends anyways, I get. This is
Yeah.
it's a legends
And
planet, but
yeah, so my thing is that like it could be Octu. They could just recontextualize it to be Octu since that is a Legends article. Now, I do think it's important that those characters specifically have a relationship to an island that has a Cortosis mine. I think
that's a
there's
little
little to no
too
chance that
yeah.
we are not acting on that. Um,
We
but
the idea of like a South Pole, North Pole sort of thing, like it could be the same
mm,
planet but different islands and
yeah,
or maybe this is a twin planet. I don't know. It could be a whole other planet. And I think the easiest way is just to recontextualize this Legends thing as Octu to kind of combine it. But then the animals, I guess, that we see small here are very,
yeah,
very
they're called like Star Wars gave them a name today.
mm,
It was
okay.
like
The
the
little ones
Skura
or the
SKUR. Yeah, the little ones.
okay. Probably
I
a
think it's
toy inbound,
SKUR.
maybe.
Oh yeah, I
Um
want one too, by
but
the way.
but yeah, they gotta be the small versions of what Luke is drinking the blue milk out of. He's milking
They
the
certainly look like it,
yeah.
like it's
So I mean it looks like they're just I don't know, an evolved creature of that. But then where are the huts of the people that lived on Octu, the
yeah.
natives there? I guess we haven't been up in the mountain quite yet. We've been very low and near
We
the
have been. Well, and
but
that's the other thing too though is that like I mean, I turned on The Last Jedi last night after the episode. I didn't get super far, but enough to see Octu again.
okay.
And there are budgetary concerns, like when it comes to location and everything. Like Octu's a real like the island's a real island.
Mhm.
That's a
Yeah.
real place that they shot. It's not the same island. It's like literally, like what we are seeing
Mhm.
is not the same island as is the island that is Octu in The Last Jedi. However, I don't know how much they are going to observe that as being important. You know what I'm saying? Like, would they just shoot a different island and call it the same thing? Because Octu doesn't really have shores.
Yeah. It felt
Octu juts out of the ground. Like
yeah.
it's now again 150 years after this, who the fuck knows, but um
Yeah, that's true. And
so like that's where I'm like I'm hesitant to call it Octu. I feel like it is. I feel like they would have just named the fucking planet if it wasn't Octu. Like
yeah.
if it was Baron Dick,
Yeah, Yeah.
You remember that one chick who tried to do a Jamaican accent on that TV show
Mm.
that one time? Yeah, that's what that name reminds me of. Um,
Oh man, that was a that
uh,
just threw back. Yeah, I don't
yeah,
just wow.
throwback there.
Um,
Um,
but yeah, no, it.
but if it was that planet, I think they would have just named it that. I think that like we're alluding to something here. But I don't want to get attached to the idea that like we have this mysterious unnamed planet. We got really attached to that on Pabu and we never got a name for the planet, So like that's why I'm like I don't really know what to expect out of this.
Hmm.
I
Cortosis. Is there anything book wise? Do you know if it comes from the core, or is just core just part of the name, just because
I
like.
do not know. I can't recall. The only book I've ever read that's even a part of is Thrawn Alliances, and I'm not gonna lie to you. I mean, I liked the book. It's good. But it was n not gripping the way the first one
Mm-hmm.
was for me.
Because
So there's probably plenty of stuff from that book that I just did not retain.
I
Um,
didn't know. Just cortosis,
oh,
a metal. I don't know. I just didn't know if it comes from the core, and then we saw that dark pit on Octu, and I don't know. Like
hmm
maybe there's some fucking passage to the
that could be
core,
cool.
and this is like
That
some
would be cool.
force planet. I feel like
Well,
there's something going like this planet.
it's important, like that's
Yeah,
why they
like
wouldn't
it's.
name it, like and it could just be that it's not on any charts, it could just be like but it's not on any charts. Octu. So it's just kind of like it
Hmm.
feels like that's what they're leaning towards. I'm not like if it's not Octu, it's something that functions very similarly. Like the thing is that Octu is like the home of the first Jedi Temple. That tree, the Jedi logo shaped tree in the on it and
Mm-hmm.
stuff. Like, do we see that? Do we see the pit? I'm like, I started this because we talked about the Vader, only what you take with you, the vision on
Mm-hmm.
Dagobah. If this is Octu, feel like we're a shoe-in for Osha to go to that pit.
Oh
You
yeah.
know what I'm saying? Like,
Oh yeah. I mean,
and I want that if that's possible. You know what
yeah.
I'm saying? Like, and if not that, I want something that at least emulates that.
Mm-hmm. Whatever the
And it would
equivalent
be,
is 200 years
and it
ago.
and it would be cool for a Sith to make their home and trying to destroy the Jedi, the first Jedi temple. Uh, like that's really cool. That's a
You gotta
great
know your
idea.
enemy to destroy,
Yeah, and
sort of
maybe
thing.
we get
Like,
him giving her a lesson that is similar to the one Luke gives Rey. That's like the Jedi and their hubris. Like he takes Luke's words essentially and recontextualizes them with malice and like stuff
oh
like
my
that could be cool.
God,
Um,
dude. The amount of parallels and just like it's just they're everywhere. They're like between
mhm.
every character, between prequel characters,
Between
between
multiple
OT
characters,
characters. Like
yeah.
it's crazy what they're doing.
That's
Yeah,
that's what's really cool about this show is that it's doing something fresh and new. It its best comparison is The Last Jedi. Like as far as like what it's doing, it is doing something fresh and new that the franchise hasn't really done, but it's doing it in a way that shows love to what came before and is doing
yeah.
justice to the mythology. And I think that that's I mean, this is the first thing since that I feel like is doing that. Andor does its own version of that, but there's only so much you can do when you are still within the bounds of the
Mm-hmm.
Skywalker saga. Like we're
Yeah.
in the era of the Empire. We're going to be dealing with the Empire. Like that's
And
but
like the fact that we have like head butting lightsabers to turn them off, or it
God,
just
that's so
the fact
fucking
that it's
cool.
yeah, it's even a thing now. We've never had anything like that, but now the choreography that's unlocked because of this, and just for it to be left up, like this is it
Well,
is
and I love that it's the metal itself is really brittle.
yeah.
It only works to deactivate, but if it like I think I said this last week, if you hold a lightsaber to it, if you had that ability, it would cut through it. It
Mm-hmm.
just can't. It doesn't have time to.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? Like it's
so
not as
cool.
strong as Beskar, but it's advantageous when you're in a fist to fist fight with a fucking Jedi, like and that's fucking cool. I love this whole thing. But anyway, he says that she should try the helmet on. But she says that she doesn't trust him, and he says that she shouldn't, but she should learn to trust herself. And he walks away, and she looks at the helmet. But Later on, a contingent of Jedi arrive on Kofar and they make their way to the surface, and deep into the jungle, they find the remains of Jekki, Yord, and several other Jedi.
Ooh.
They'd previously been informed of the potential Umbramoth attack, but it is clear now that this is not what happened, as, Jekki has three lightsaber gouges in her chest. And
Mm-hmm.
others have other things. Did we see a decapitated Jedi here?
I don't think so. I at least I didn't pick it up. There were some bodies on the ground, but
Maybe
they
it was
didn't.
blocked off by the tree, like perfectly at the. There's one that's like shoulders are visible and their head is not. And I can't tell if it's because a tree
Oh,
cuts it off or if it's the
I
ground. I can't.
guess.
I didn't pause to linger on it or anything, but I feel like there's something there. But
Mm.
upon investigation, Vernestra senses what may have happened through the Force and asks Mog what he thinks happened. He says there was an explosion followed by a battle. One man versus all of them, someone intensely powerful, skilled, erratic. It is then that an Umbramoth strikes down, but Vernestra ends it swiftly with her light whip, and she points out that everybody was felled by a lightsaber. What does this tell you? And the Padawan says that, well, a powerful Jedi has fallen. And he questions, you don't think it could have been Soul, do you? And she says that is an intense accusation. And he questions who else it could have been. Who else could have this level of power? And that's when Vernestra turns away and talks to herself for a moment and says something to tip the scales.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man. She's putting it together that her former fucking Padawan is killing Jedi. Um,
Don't see how this can go many other ways. Like it's.
I don't either, man. And I do think it's a foreshadowing that Soul has touched the dark side and will again. You don't think Soul could have done this, do you? This is a very powerful Jedi. Like, I don't think he'll fall to the dark side, but I think he'll touch it. I think he will engage the dark side to try to fight, to try to fight Chimere. Um,
Did maybe like Chimere wanted Soul as his pupil maybe at one point. Is that a possibility? And Soul almost gave in, did not, and that's the maybe she does
I
think
think he'd be much more familiar to Soul if that was the case.
yeah
I think that's a pretty memorable
yeah
instance, like
it's gotta be Chimere. Like it's
mhm.
just I was trying
Yeah,
to
I'm
find
like
any
when
way
she
it.
turns away, I think she's going she either knows it's a Sith, you know,
Mm,
internally she knows
mm-hmm.
okay, it's a Sith and I like she doesn't want to say it out loud
Yeah.
or she's going, "Oh, I actually know who did this." Like
That's the interesting part because is it just that they don't want the Sith to even exist? So even the mention of them, like that's why they have to cover up anything that's Sith like, is because like they don't even want Jedi to even think that they're out there at all remotely. I don't know. That could be the
well,
reason she's wanting to hide it, or it's her
Well,
fuck up.
there's
Like,
we see well, it's her fuck up, but also there's the threats against the Jedi right now coming from the Senate, and if the Jedi appear weak, how how much does that affect
ah,
them? Like
that's her reason for the cover up. She has to because they're going to be
she
under
has
review.
to,
Like,
like that's
ooh,
and that's why like she's dealing with the bureaucratic stuff while also I think dealing with a personal thing, and I think it's going to. I mean, I really don't want it to happen. I fear Vernestra's not long for this world. I'd prefer she lived. I don't want to see Vernestra die because I have a much deeper history with her than any of these other characters. But like I didn't even
ooh.
consider that a possibility coming into the show. I thought that was off limits. You know what I'm saying? I thought it was like, okay, well, at least I know Vernestra's gonna make it out. And now I'm like, I don't know. This might be the way they decide to end her fucking story.
OSHA kind of
Um,
needs a lightsaber, and I wonder if it'll just be taken off the dead body of a Jedi, and OSHA's
it
lightsaber
would be
feels
so
like
cool if we get to
Vernestra's.
watch.
Like I
Yeah,
don't know why.
yeah.
It feels like that's the one she would get.
I think the one she'd get is Souls,
I guess that makes sense.
her former
But
master,
I feel like destroy. Like I wouldn't want to. Like, would you want to keep that as you? Yeah, like
I mean, if you take it and bleed the crystal, that's sacrilege, essentially. You know what I'm saying? Like
fair.
um,
Yeah, that's true. Okay, I
it'd be
didn't.
cool if we saw, it would be super cool if we get to see the first bleeding of a crystal in live action. I think that would be fucking awesome. But, um, I'm, we don't have enough time, I don't think. Like, I think with 2 episodes left, we're not, that's what makes me think. and maybe I'm hoping against hope here that there will be a season 2 of the show. I would love if there's a season 2 of this show.
I didn't think I
Um,
wanted it, but yeah,
the closer we get
like
to the end, I'm like, I mean, I think it's possible to wrap up this story, but now there's more possibility for more story than I'd ever really considered. Um,
mm-hmm.
like how long does this battle take? If Vernestra makes it out of the season, how long does she try to keep the Sith under wrap? Is she the reason we don't know the Sith exist come the prequels? Like is that
Yeah.
and does that happen by the end of this season? Doesn't feel like it. You know what I'm saying? Like so I'm I didn't think I wanted a season 2. I thought the story feels like it's going in one direction. The mystery feels like it can only be the story. But
I don't
what
know.
if yeah, I'm like, I think there could be now. And I didn't think that at the start of the season or even just a couple episodes ago. But now all of a sudden the mythology of the show's just gotten so fucking rich that I'm in. But yeah, Vernestra says to herself something to tip the scales, and then Mog questions why he would have done this, and then sent them a distress call. So he's kind of like, "Well, that's fucking stupid. Sorry, I even said that." And then Vernestra ends the investigation and says it's time to prepare the bodies for burial. And back on Soul's ship, May awakens strapped to the med bay. Soul tells her he will not hurt her, but he has thought about what he would say to her if he could for 16 years. So she will listen. And he is fucking scary during this scene.
Mm-hmm.
This scene is really why Lee Jung Jae is getting my performance. The way his hand is like resting next to her face
Yeah.
and she's like looking at it and he's like, it
It's
looks bad. Like
mm-hmm.
and frankly, I don't know how there's nothing doing that besides Lee Jung Jae. You know what I'm saying? That like the writing, the words could be very, very nice. You know,
Yeah.
I've been thinking about what I wanted to say to you for 16 years if I could. So I'm going to say it and you're going to listen. But he says it like, I'm going to say it
Yeah.
and you are going to
I've been
listen.
thinking about this every fucking day for the last 16 years and I can't wait to finally. Yeah, no, the dude is.
And she's nervous. He's going to do something to her. So also credit to Amanda Listenberg. I don't want to say it's all Lee Jung Jae. The way that they
Mm-hmm.
perform horrified is really, really good. And it makes this tension just wonderful. But
Mm.
he says she will listen, and then we cut away, and we cut to the helmet sitting on its dais right in front of a vein of cortosis. Um,
She's going to hear this conversation. That's how she's going to hear it. The helmet's going to be on. She's going to
oh,
connect to
she's gonna
May
connect.
and she's going to hear
Oh,
this from Soul. Holy shit. I was like, why put on the helmet and just black out? Not even a visual of her seeing anything, nothing. And I'm like, I don't know. I couldn't connect it, but I don't know. That
that's a good idea. The way that her and May possess a clear, deep, deep connection in the Force,
dyad,
like I,
like
yeah,
maybe she can like help
she's
her.
there.
She can release her cuffs. I don't know, like how Kylo can hand off a
Yeah,
saber.
exactly.
Maybe there's something that can be done there.
Ooh, I'd like that. I'd like that a lot. That was a good
Hmm.
idea. That had not occurred to me, but yeah,
Hmm.
Osha picks it up and puts it on. Just her, the Force, and
And
what she
she
brought
brought
with her.
with her a lot of confused emotions. That's for sure. Chimera stirred the pot.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Well,
but
there's a reason he left it there in the same he wants this, like
yeah.
everything right now is going fucking swimmingly for Chimere. He is exactly to plan. Thank you very much. And I
Mm-hmm.
love I love this show, man. Like 5 and 6 have made this it's elevated it from a good show to a great show. And I think if it can stick the landing, we're looking at the second best season of Star Wars TV.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like over
It
it's
has to do some fucking insane shit to beat Andor. I don't think it will, but it's there, right? It's second. It could be second, I should say.
yeah. Mando season 1. That's
That's tough to beat.
in
That's a
it.
good fucking season.
We're in that realm though. That's crazy. Like we're
Hmm.
not in Ahsoka realm. We're not in Boba Fett realm. I don't
No.
know. At least for my personal
Yeah, for
taste, but
me
like this
this is
is
better than that.
yeah, we're up there. And I don't know, even even his ship that's out there, it's like, hey, you can go swim and escape whenever you want, but it's like, is she really gonna even make that? Is it like a actual that she can make that? But his ship, I don't know, looked very much like Darth Maul's. What he fucking goes around in
Hmm.
all the time, and I don't know, is that just
For
a
sure, it's called
Sith?
the scimitar or something like that. Yeah.
Is that just like a commonly used Sith, dark? They just use that shit, or I don't know. I don't know if there was some
Oh, hold
connection
on.
there, um, at all. But that's
I
it.
read something last night. I cannot remember where. Give me a moment, because
Hmm.
this could be enlightening.
The ship
I did not.
from the ship,
Yeah.
or
Yeah. Here, hold on. Let me.
maybe that's how he gets there. There's like a holocron. Isn't that like a holocron ship? I don't know. Maybe Maul. Is that why he uses it? I think any holocron can be hooked up to any ship. I guess that's not like a ship specific thing.
Yeah. Scimitar, also known as this. It's known as the Sith Infiltrator.
Okay.
Okay, let's see. I feel like I read something about. Hmm. It is suspected that the ship, the Scimitar, was designed by the Sith Lord Darth Tenebrous.
Uh-oh. So, wait a minute. Oh, designed. Okay. So maybe okay, I was thinking like Chimere is this guy, but he could just be the
You know,
Tenebrous and Plagueis are the master. He was maybe one of Plagueis's apprentices. I
yeah.
don't know. And hmm,
Yeah, no, I didn't even consider that. I was like, I think I just read that last night, and I think it was in relation to Darth Tenebrous, and that I'm glad I was right. But
I guess a
um
character we have. I mean, still legends, right? There's nothing of Tenebrous at all
nothing. There,
canonically.
I mean, there's like
So
one canon story, and it was in like Star Wars Insider. It was like in a magazine, like easily malleable. One of those things that nobody is going to be like, you broke canon, like actually someone will still be like, you broke canon, but we're going to tell them to fuck off. Um
hmm, so he's maybe not even one of the two main guys, but maybe that's the whole
Good.
point is that it's
Yeah.
like they're everywhere, actually. But hmm,
Yeah. No, I don't
wow.
know, man. I don't know. But yeah, it's a good point. I thought the ship looked familiar too. I would need to see it again to tell you for sure. It looked like Darth Maul's ship to me.
The back it folds up, and then whenever it goes, it folds down and
Mhm,
takes
mhm,
off. That's why I remembered it. It's like the fold. It's one of my I don't know. I love whenever ships take off in Star Wars.
mhm.
But huh? Okay, Tenebrous. How do you is Teneb?
I don't know.
Fuck.
Yeah,
Um,
let's see if they have a little breakdown of such
Plagueis's
things here.
master at least. Teneb.
Tenebrous. I gotta imagine it's Tenebrous. I can't. I
Dark, shadowy, or obscure is the literal. I guess it just that's what it means. It's just a word. I've never didn't know that. I guess okay. Tenebrous,
Yeah,
Tenebros.
first mentioned in the current Star Wars canon in the 44th issue of the magazine Star Wars Build the Millennium Falcon. Um,
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
no,
Come on.
it's very, very malleable. Originally introduced in The Tenebrous Way, a short story from Star Wars Insider in 2011, which was written by Matthew Stover, an incredible writer. He wrote the Revenge of the Sith novelization. Um,
Okay, so yeah, cool. I mean, it doesn't feel like a spoiler of all these things, but some things are leading down a road where it's a little too specific, like
well, I mean,
the
like, and it could just be as simple as they are recontextualizing some Sith stories.
yeah.
Like it might not be Darth Tenebrous, but like we know these things are relating to a Sith master.
Mm-hmm.
And we know like it again, just like we could kind of guess that Chimere was the stranger, we can kind of guess that he has a Sith master. Like
Mm-hmm.
we're not fucking idiots, like he doesn't feel like the top of the ladder here. Um
Mm-mm. No. And maybe that is another one of his ploys. Maybe it's like it's another layer of the onion that he's the drunken fool that isn't the apprentice at first, and we think there's a master, but then he actually fuck. I don't know. It's all part of his plan.
could be, could be. But yeah, fuck. I'm gonna do the plugs.
Yeah, it's
And
a
then after
lengthy
the
one.
plugs,
Yeah.
we're gonna rate this episode. We do rate these episodes, right? We don't rate these?
Mm-mm. At
Okay.
least we
We
haven't.
rate a lot of stuff all over the place. We don't
Mm.
rate these though. This would have been a good good rating though, for those curious.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to do the plugs, and then afterwards, we're going to answer our Star Wars question of the week, which is, what is your earliest Star Wars memory, and or how did you get into the franchise? I'm going to answer a blend of both.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, if you would head to Twitter, follow at the Fulcrum Pod. Uh, that's where you can get any updates on what's going on here, what we're going to be doing, especially considering we only have 2 weeks left. We only have 7 and 8 left for the Acolyte season one, and we don't plan on stopping Fulcrum. However, we haven't precisely nailed down exactly what we're going to do. We are working on a few things. We are contemplating, we are brainstorming. So you will find out likely next week or the week after. But if you want to know, probably even sooner, the place to be would be Twitter. Follow at the Fulcrum Pod. You can also follow at Penny Bloom Pod, our kind of flagship show. That's for any larger news going on as it concerns what is currently being a House of the Dragon podcast, Fire and Bloom, and Cinema Surprise on Fridays. That's a lot of fun. Like this Friday, we are covering Babylon, and I'm very excited for that. Um, we would love if you would go check that out. And next next Monday, we are on House of the Dragon season 2, episode 4.
Mm-hmm.
God damn, that season is going by fucking slow.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we are so deep in that, but we're only 3 episodes. Okay. Um,
Yep.
wow. Yeah. So season 2, episode 4 next Monday on the Penny Bloom Pod. Um, and for any more tertiary anything, you can follow me at Koro_Bloom. So, but the first and foremost at the Fulcrum Pod, go check that out. Um, you can leave a 5-star rate and review wherever you might be listening and download the episodes. We would appreciate that. Share us with a buddy, share us with a friend. I know you know somebody who loves Star Wars. Show them us. Do it. I would appreciate it. I would love you forever. Um, let's see. You can watch us on YouTube. Look up the Fulcrum Pod or Fulcrum, a Star Wars podcast. We are there. You should definitely watch. That's a lot of fun. I've always got my High Republic books on display. I got a little Obi-Wan Kenobi action going over here, a little bit of Mando. It's a lot of fun. A lot of fun. Um, but yeah, with that, let's answer the question of the week.
All
What
right.
was your earliest Star Wars memory, and
Uh,
or how did you get in the franchise? This was again asked by the same person who asked last week. This is Jocelyn once again.
mm-hmm.
Shout out Jocelyn. Appreciate you so much. One of the best Twitter mutuals you can have at Tauntaun Soup. Shoot
Mm-hmm.
her a follow. But
So I
yeah, what was it for you?
had a conversation with the parents. I had to know because it goes back beyond where my brain turned on. So
Yeah,
before
yeah.
I could keep memories. And they said the toys were always in the house. I had some older cousins that were into Star Wars, so some of them kind of came from there. We had a lot of the same toys, but specifically, a cousin that lived in Colorado was a super into Star Wars and decided to tell us like we needed to watch them, and was I guess the first driving factor to get our family to watch the movies actually. But yeah, it was at first just the toys that we played with first. I had just a bunch of the action figures and a bunch of stuff from leftover cousins. Um, and then it's the prequels for me. Those are the earliest memories. It's pretty much only the prequels that I watched when I was
Mm,
young. Anakin and Obi-Wan, that was me and my brother. We would fight all the time. I don't know how many bruises we had from those plastic sabers, just going a little bit too hard, eventually.
right.
But it started off with the toys and just movie nights with the family. Me or my brother, we'd pick Revenge of the
Mm,
Sith. That's what we're
yeah.
watching, no matter what. Sometimes I'd like to spice it up and throw in Phantom Menace or Attack of the Clones, but it was a
The
prequel.
prequels, yeah, it
Hmm.
was a prequel. Yeah,
Yeah,
no, I
prequel
get that.
baby.
I
But
was I was also I was right there with you growing up, you know. It's actually funny. My parents were not Star Wars people. Um
hmm
I was introduced to Star Wars by my uncle Jeremy, which was my one of my dad's best friends ever. Um Still is. Still see him quite
hmm
regularly. Um and I'm always incredibly thankful that he introduced me to Star Wars. I've told the story for so long that I've started to believe it. I don't know how much I do believe it. But like I don't know, I don't remember much before it. That my first memory is being scared of the Wampa in Empire Strikes Back, the
Oh
the
my
snow
God.
monster.
Yeah.
Um I
That's an
feel like
early
that is
one.
an
But
early one. You know, like I don't remember much before that. I remember very early being like, I don't know how much I want to watch this movie because I want to skip past the beginning because I'm afraid of the
mm-hmm.
fucking Wampa. You know what I'm saying? Like I was horrified of that thing. So that's one of the
Hmm.
earliest memories I have was being scared of it. But I'm the same. A lot of toys, a lot of I had a friend. Oh, you know what? I should have done this before the show. If you want to hold the listener over, I'm gonna
Mm-hmm.
grab one of the like
Yeah.
lines of toys. I'm looking at it. I've
Okay.
had them since I was a
Go
child. I'll be
grab that
right
thing.
back.
Yeah. No, I was Hoth. You bring it. Yeah. I can't believe I didn't think of the OT, but out of the OT, Hoth is definitely the most memorable. I don't know. Maybe it is just snow. Maybe I do obsess with planes, but at least whenever they're tying up the AT-ATs with the cables behind their ships, that's a very early memory, and it might be because I was afraid of good old Wombat, but then yeah, wow. I guess I don't know. I guess I thought a lot of my childhood memory only came from the prequels, but 100%. I got the OT too. Let's see
All
what you
right.
got.
So I know they have a more official name. I don't know
Okay.
what it is. I never looked into it. Me and a friend when I was in kindergarten, first grade, his name was Jackson. We would hang out at the park at one of each other's houses, whatever, and we would battle with our Star Wars little guys.
Okay.
These little
Look.
guys? You ever
Whoa.
have the little guys?
Whoa. What's going on with the feet? The boots or just
Huge feet. But yeah, here a
that
little
is
closer to the camera. That's a clone trooper.
wow.
I only grabbed two examples, so there's
Hey.
3PO.
Yeah, I've
I
never
loved these things, dude. These were
huh.
these were a staple for my Star Wars fandom when I was younger, and these are beat to shit. I've had them for at least 20
Wow.
years. Um,
Damn. Yeah, I've never seen the little guys or the little dudes.
dude,
The
I'm
little
sure they're called like minifigures or something. I
mm-hmm.
have no idea what they were,
Yeah.
who made them. I've had them for longer than I can remember. I came into consciousness and these were
Wow.
my fucking toys, you know?
Yeah.
So they were extremely important. I had a little Boba Fett one that I loved, and I even
Mm-hmm.
had them before I really knew who the characters were. You know what I'm saying? Like, and
Yeah.
that's another interesting level of the leap in Star Wars fandom. You always loved Star Wars. You know,
Mm.
you always loved you liked watching the movies, you liked playing with the toys. This is more a question for me and I think it does relate to what Jocelyn asked. When did that happen for you? When you started taking an interest in
Hmm.
specifics and like a good example is I remember I think The Force Awakens really reinvigorated my fandom for Star Wars. It wasn't that it was dying, it wasn't that it was lost, but it reminded me of how much I loved it when I was a kid
Mm-hmm.
or very small. I was still a kid when The Force Awakens came out, but much younger kid when I was in love with Star Wars and the idea of Star Wars, you know. But there was a point like until not long ago that whenever you asked me like what was Han Solo frozen in, I just said fucking concrete.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
not
Mm-hmm.
carbonite until probably sometime in the last 6 to 8 years. So
Mm-hmm.
it's interesting to have latched onto it relatively late in comparison to how long my relationship
Mm-hmm.
goes with it. Like there was a very long time where I was content with my liking the movies, not really grasping specifically
Mm-hmm.
how it all connects, just kind of being like, yeah, I like this movie. That's a good
Yeah.
movie. I like this one too. That's a good movie. Um,
Yeah,
but like
that's
there was a period of my life where I had a tough time grasping the prequels versus the originals and what order they went in and and
yeah.
all that stuff, you know, like and obviously that wasn't quite the Force Awakens that it made me realize that, but to give you an idea of how out of the loop I was in terms of marketing and everything, when I went and saw Rogue One, I was like, why are none of the characters from the Force Awakens in this?
Hmm. Yeah, I
You know
guess
what I'm saying?
yeah.
Like I was
Very
like I was just kind of like, what's going on here? I'm like, okay, cool. It's a new Star Wars movie. And obviously I caught up, but like it was like
Yeah.
I didn't pay attention. I was just like, new Star Wars movie. Fuck yeah, gonna go see that. And then I got there and I was like, that's not Rey. Where's Finn?
Hmm.
I'm like, what's going on here? But like
Huh.
so it's relatively late that timelines mattered at all to me, that anything like any of the specifics
Yeah.
even clicked for me. And
Hmm.
I think that speaks volumes about the power of the franchise. That like even though I didn't give a shit about the specifics, the aesthetics of the story and I mean the spirit of the story, they always speak to you even if you aren't attached to
Hmm.
it in the deepest
Yeah.
sense. And
Whenever you were off getting the toys, I thought that all my memories were prequels, but I was wrong. Like Hoth, whenever you brought up just
Hoth,
like
man.
Hoth is so memorable, and I was afraid in that cave. No, that's nightmare
Hmm.
fuel. But
Yeah.
the AT-ATs and tying them up with the cables, that's like,
Yeah.
oh my
Yes.
God,
Yes.
that was
Essential.
so in Trench Run from A New Hope, and then from
Mhm.
Return
The
of the Jedi,
cantina.
Luke, the last, at the Sarlacc pit, and
Mhm.
where oh my God, what's his fat that
Jabba.
Jabba. Oh my God, hello. Yeah, Jabba goes down. Like those scenes are like those are the childhood scenes. And I didn't even think of that I got like the OT in there too. But yeah, no,
Hmm.
I guess
It's in there,
it was
like
just it was part of the movie.
oh,
I didn't
dude, I
care. It
remember.
was
Yeah,
hmm.
dude. Like Attack of the Clones was just seared into my brain as a child, like and it's funny how you remember like that's why I think whenever we talk about stuff and we're like, gosh, that's a little scary. Like for kids, like this is a
Mm-hmm.
kids thing. Yeah, it's a kids thing. That's exciting when you're a kid. Like the little creepy crawly that tries to assassinate Padme at the beginning of Attack of the
Mm.
Clones.
Yup.
I fucking love that scene,
Mm-hmm.
and it scared the shit out of me when I was a kid. And that was, I mean, obviously the Duel of the Fates. I didn't know it was the Duel of the Fates. I was like, whenever Darth Maul comes out and he tries to kill the Jedi, that's cool. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, got
Wow.
to talk about Lego Star Wars.
Oh come on. Oh come on. Whew.
Quintessential, dude.
Just
The
the
pod racing level,
no. Maybe we don't
nightmare.
talk about that one. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I'm getting,
Why was it so hard as a kid? It was so
so
goddamn
difficult,
hard. That's why
so
we
difficult.
hated the Tuscan Raiders, honestly. Like
That was
it,
why,
that
yeah.
is why I hated them. It's just dink dink dink. The sounds of the game are
God, I remember the level when you are getting the Duel of the Fates and you're like running around the little things and you have to double jump in between them and you
mm-hmm.
run and you jump and it's rolling all the way around and you fall off the side and like God, dude. Like so
Oh.
to answer the question, I have a deep, rich history with Star Wars
Mm-hmm.
and it it's grown to be much deeper obviously, but I
Yeah.
mean shit. I feel like it's hard to recall. I'm fairly certain we saw The Last Jedi together.
I think so. Yeah. I think Force
Did we go to Michael's
Awakens,
house after?
that does kind of
Does that
seem
ring a
right.
bell?
That does kind of seem right, actually. Because I know Force Awakens was, I think, with who was that with? Maybe my family. I don't
I was
actually.
with Trenton.
Yeah, I don't actually
I was with
know
Trenton
Force
because we came
Awakens.
we came back to the basement here and we talked about it. It was like me, Trenton, maybe Michael was there too. I can't remember, but I remember Trenton because he was like, "Dude, Ray's fucking hot." And I'm like, "Yeah, Ray's
That
Ray's a
is
beautiful woman, Trenton."
very Trenton of him.
Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
but huh? Yeah, I want. I think that I don't know. I don't know for sure if I did, but that
yeah.
kind
I'm
of
like,
does seem
I know
right.
me and you. I'm fairly certain about us seeing The Last Jedi, and I know for a fact we saw The Rise of Skywalker together.
Yeah, Last
I
Jedi
know that
is
certainly.
maybe. Where was I?
Yeah,
Wow.
I'm
Yeah, I
like,
don't.
I
I'll
know
have
I
to
saw
ask
I saw
around for that.
Solo with Tavares. Um, and again, to give you a feel for how different my relationship with Star Wars was even 6 years ago, I was confused at the end when Maul showed up. I was like, wait, the
Hmm.
Empire? I was like, wait, the
Yeah.
Empire? Maul got sliced in half. What the fuck are we doing? Like, I was 18
Mm-hmm.
when I went and saw that movie. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm
Yeah.
like the richness of me taking in the Clone Wars and like
Maybe that's it. Maybe it's when you
retaining
dive
the
into the
Clone
Clone
Wars.
Wars and Rebels is whenever you
Yeah, is when
really.
you've made it.
Maybe that's the
Because like
threshold. But
funny enough, like one of the things that struck me about the Clone Wars when I was watching it the first time was like, I feel like I watched the Clone Wars when I was younger, but it wasn't this. you know? And it wasn't. It was
Maybe.
the 2D micro series Clone Wars, the things that popped up that were like
Mm-hmm.
3 minutes long in between stuff on Cartoon Network. Do you remember those?
I mean, I remember the visuals of it somehow, so I guess it had
Mhm.
to have gotten to my
It's
brain.
in there. Like that's the thing is that like it's just there, you know? Like the
Hmm.
I mean the visuals of like Anakin with the blue shoulder thing coming over and
Mm-hmm.
everything and the scar over like it's just like a long rich history with Star Wars and probably the sequels reinvigorated it. Disney Plus cemented it. Like having access to Star Wars anytime ever
Yeah,
changed the game.
that's huge.
Because
Yeah.
I mean, like, I guess to be more accurate about it, I didn't watch the Clone Wars until I had Disney Plus.
Yeah. No, yeah,
You know what
that's
I'm
how I
saying? So
saw it.
like
Yeah.
that was 2019.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Wow. There you go. Yeah. No
you
way I
know, so
watched it
like,
before Disney Plus.
hmm
Yeah, no
and
shot.
I yeah,
So,
so like all within the last 5 years, I'd say my relationship with Star Wars has grown from a childish wonderment to a deep interest in the mythology and the world they've created. You know what I'm
mm-hmm.
saying? Like, so yeah, no, long, rich history, but
Mm-hmm.
it's fascinating to think about how it is within the last few years that I've really, really attached to
Yeah.
it.
I still haven't finished it, but I started a book of Star Wars, and I don't read books,
Right.
and I like,
Yeah, the
yeah, it's a thing I want to do more of, but like I
yeah.
would never have done that even, before. And yeah, I guess maybe the relation, it's still just an ever-changing relationship that you'll just deeper and deeper. And that's the universe they've built is that you can do that. You can start as a kid and
Hmm.
have live your life and still find new things and
Yeah.
love it even more. But
Yeah, absolutely.
mhm.
No, yeah, I mean, like I've got 18 Star Wars books right here that I've read. I have read these, and these aren't all the
Uh-huh.
Star Wars books I
Wow.
have.
Yeah, one day I'll get there. One day. Whenever I can just read a book in general, god damn it. Get it I don't know. I just gotta
You got this.
get
You
that
got
ability
this.
back. But
I mean, comics, dude, I can't wait. I can't wait to dive in. Like that's one of the things I'll spoil that we're considering
mm,
for a post Acolyte is some Star Wars comics, digging into those a little bit. I would love to show Joe Dr. Afra. I love
mm,
Dr. Afra. But yeah, no, got a lot. But when I'm like, then I'm like, if we're gonna cover Dr. Afra, should we cover that entire era of comics because they have
mm-hmm.
tie-ins and they have crossovers and
A lot to
it's like,
think about, I
yeah, no,
guess.
there's
Yeah.
so lots to plan, lots of potentially talk about. But regardless, thank you, Jocelyn, for the question once again. We're happy you have officially become a listener of our show,
Mm.
and I appreciate you greatly. Um, but yeah, with that, we will conclude this episode of Fulcrum, a Star Wars podcast, and we will be back next week with the penultimate episode of The Acolyte. I was Colton Robertson. I was joined by Joseph George. Thank you very much, homie.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure to be here.
Oh, and it's always a pleasure to have you. And remember, peace, love, and bloom. And you think it's his strength? That's your strength in the Force, Osha. Someone ought to teach you that.